The sun has finally begun to lower itself behind the distant hills, signaling the end of another long, ordinary day in the Empire. There is no rush here. There is nowhere you need to be. The light is changing, shifting from the bright, harsh white of the midday sun into a softer, heavier gold that seems to coat the rooftops of the city. Take a moment to settle in. You do not need to focus on these words. They are simply a background texture, like the hum of the wind or the flow of a distant river. If your mind wanders, let it wander. There is nothing here that requires your attention. The history of the night is not written in battles or decrees, but in the slow, rhythmic breathing of a city preparing to rest. Imagine you are standing on a quiet street corner. The paving stones beneath your feet are uneven, worn smooth by generations of sandals. They are large, flat stones, gray and dusty, and they still hold the warmth of the afternoon sun. If you were to touch the stone, it would feel solid and comfortably warm against your skin. The heat radiates upwards, a gentle, invisible presence that softens the cooling air of the evening. The street is narrow. It is flanked on both sides by tall buildings, the insulae, rising 3 or 4 stories into the deepening sky. The plaster on the walls is faded, painted in shades of ochre and terracotta that have been bleached by years of sunlight. There are no sharp edges here, only the soft, eroded corners of old masonry. Shadows are lengthening. They stretch out from the base of the buildings, reaching across the street like slow, dark fingers. They move so slowly that you cannot see them change, yet every time you look away and look back, the darkness has claimed a little more of the ground. The boundary between the light and the shadow is soft, blurred by the dust that always hangs in the air of the city. It is a quiet time. The heavy noise of the morning market has long since evaporated. The shouting of merchants, the haggling of buyers, the clatter of carts, it has all faded away. What is left is a heavy, comfortable lull. A shopkeeper is closing his stall for the night. Watch him. There is no urgency in his movements. He is a man of middle age wearing a simple, undyed tunic that hangs loosely to his knees. He moves with the practiced efficiency of a lifetime of routine. He lifts a wooden shutter, a heavy board of seasoned oak. You can hear the dull thud as he slots it into place. Then another, and another. Thud, thud, thud. The sound is hollow and low. It echoes slightly down the empty street, bouncing off the stone walls before dissolving into the silence. He picks up a heavy iron bar and slides it across the shutters. The metal makes a scraping sound, a dry friction of iron against iron, before it settles into its catch with a final clink. He checks it once, rattling the wood gently to ensure it is secure. It holds. He wipes his hands on his tunic, a small cloud of flour dust rising from the fabric, catching the last rays of the sun before disappearing. He turns and walks away. His sandals make a soft, rhythmic slapping sound against the stones. Slap, slap, slap. The sound grows fainter as he moves further down the street, eventually merging with the ambient hum of the neighborhood. He turns a corner and he is gone. The street is empty again. Above, the sky is transitioning. The gold is turning into a bruised purple, a deep, rich color that feels heavy and sleepy. The swallows that darted overhead during the day have returned to their nests in the eaves of the roof tiles. You can hear their soft chirping, a sleepy, muffled sound as they settle their wings and close their eyes. Even the birds are tired. The air is cooling down. You can feel the temperature drop degree by degree. It is not cold, merely fresh. It brings with it the sense of the city in the evening. There is the smell of wood smoke, faint and distant, as kitchen fires are stoked for the evening meal. There is the smell of bread, yeast, and toasted grain, lingering from the bakeries. And underneath it all, the smell of the earth itself, dry and dusty. In the window of the second story of the building across the street, a light appears. It is a small, flickering flame. Someone has lit a lucerna, a small clay oil lamp. The flame is weak, struggling against the twilight, but it burns steadily. It casts a warm, orange glow against the window frame. Imagine the lamp. It is a simple object shaped like a teardrop made of terracotta. Inside, a pool of olive oil sits heavy and thick. A wick of linen floats in the oil, black at the tip where the fire consumes it. The oil burns slowly, giving off a very faint, acrid scent that mixes with the evening air. The flame dances slightly, responding to a draft that you cannot feel. Focus on that small light. It is the only movement in a still world. It does not strive to be bright. It simply exists, pushing back a few inches of darkness. Down the street, a dog lies sleeping in a doorway. It is a street dog, brown and scruffy. It is curled into a tight ball, its nose tucked under its tail. Its flank rises and falls with slow, deep breaths. Every now and then, its ear twitches, perhaps chasing a rabbit in a dream or shaking off a fly. But it does not wake. It knows that the night is for resting. The stone step it sleeps on is cool and smooth. The silence deepens. It is not a complete silence. There is no such thing in a city but a blanket of quiet. The noises that remain are distinct and isolated. Somewhere, blocks away, a baby cries for a moment, a thin, wavering sound, and then is hushed. A door creaks on its hinges, the wood groaning from the change in temperature. The wind rustles the leaves of a cypress tree in a courtyard garden, a sound like dry whispering. SHHH. SHHH. You are safe here. The gates of the city are guarded, but that is far away. Here, in the heart of the district, the walls are thick and the routine is unbreakable. The empire is vast, stretching from the mists of Britannia to the sands of Egypt, but right now, the empire consists only of this street, this light, this stone. The purple in the sky is fading to a deep slate blue. The first star appears. It is faint, a tiny pinprick of white light high above the rooftops. It wavers in the atmosphere. The Romans call it Vesper, the evening star. It watches over the transition from activity to stillness. Let's walk slowly down the street. There is no need to hurry. Your feet feel light. You pass a fountain at the corner. It is a simple stone basin fed by a lead pipe that connects to the great aqueducts. The water flows constantly. Listen to the water, burble, splash, drip, burble, splash, drip. It is a hypnotic, endless loop. The water is clear and cold. It spills over the lip of the basin and runs into a drain in the street. The sound of the water is the heartbeat of the evening. It cleanses the air. It covers the silence with a liquid texture. You could stand here for hours and the water would never change its tune. It has flowed like this since the aqueduct was built, day and night, regardless of who is emperor or what wars are fought on the borders. It is indifferent. It is peaceful. You dip your hand into the basin. The water is shockingly cold against your warm skin. It shocks you for a second, then feels refreshing. You let the drops fall from your fingers. They hit the surface of the water with tiny, sharp, distinct plops. Ripples spread out, distorting the reflection of the evening star, making it dance on the surface of the water. Then the ripples fade and the star returns to stillness. Across from the fountain is a tavern, a popina. It is quiet tonight. The wooden shutters are half closed. Inside, the light is dim. You can hear the low murmur of voices. They are not arguing. They are not shouting. They are just talking, a low rumble of conversation that merges into a single, unintelligible drone. It is a comforting sound, the sound of humans being together in the dark. Occasionally, there is the clink of a clay cup against a wooden table, a laugh, soft and short, then back to the murmur. The smell of warm wine and herbs drifts out from the doorway. It is a heavy, spicy scent. You keep walking. The darkness is more complete now. The buildings have lost their color. They are now just silhouettes, looming shapes of gray and black against the dark blue sky. The windows are black squares, except for the occasional orange flicker of another lamp. The city is turning inward. The public life of the Forum and the baths is over. The private life of the household has begun. Inside these walls, families are gathering. They are sitting on low stools or reclining on couches. They are eating simple food, bread, cheese, perhaps some pottage of lentils. They are speaking in low tones. A mother is humming a tune to a child. An old man is coughing gently. These are the sounds of life continuing, slow and steady. There is a rhythm to the walking, one foot in front of the other. You pass a small shrine built into the wall of a house. It is a lararium, a shrine to the household gods. Inside the small niche there are tiny figurines made of bronze and clay. A small offering of grain sits in a bowl. A tiny lamp burns in front of them. The gods are watching, but they are quiet gods. They are not the thunderous gods of the sky, but the small, silent spirits of the home. They watch the shadows. They watch the sleep. The air is still. There is no wind in the street now, shielded by the high walls. The dust has settled. The atmosphere feels suspended, as if time itself has slowed down to match the pace of the night. You reach the end of the street and turn onto a wider avenue. This is a decumanus, one of the main roads. It is wider but still empty. The paving stones here are larger, huge slabs of volcanic basalt. They glint faintly in the starlight. In the distance, you see a patrol of the vigils, the night watchmen. They are far away. You see the bobbing of their torches, small spheres of fire moving in a line. You cannot hear their footsteps yet. They are just a visual detail, a reminder that the city is being watched over. They move slowly, checking doors, looking for fires. They are part of the machinery of the night. They do not see you, and you do not need to acknowledge them. They pass a crossroad and disappear behind a building. The street is yours again. Let your shoulders drop. Unclench your jaw. The tension of the day is gone. The expectations of the world have evaporated with the sunlight. In the Roman night, there is only the present moment. Look up at the roofs again. The tiles are curved, interlocking rows of terracotta. They create a texture like the scales of a great sleeping beast. A cat walks along the ridge of a roof. It is a silhouette black against the dark blue. It moves with fluid grace, placing one paw carefully in front of the other. It stops. It sits. It looks down into the street. It watches you with indifferent eyes. Then it stands and continues its patrol, vanishing over the other side. The world is made of stone, wood, and tile. It is simple. It is durable. It has stood for centuries and will stand for centuries more. Your presence here is fleeting, a ghost passing through the solid reality of the empire. This thought is not sad, it is comforting. The stones carry the weight, so you do not have to. The smell of the night is changing again. The cooking fires are dying down. The smell of smoke is fainter, replaced by the cool, damp scent of the dew beginning to form. The air feels cleaner, washed by the darkness. You find a place to sit, a low stone wall near a garden gate. You sit down. The stone is cool now. You lean back against the wall of the garden. Behind you, over the wall, you can smell rosemary and laurel. The sharp, herbal scents are released by the cooling air. Close your eyes for a moment in the story. Listen. In silence. Then a cricket begins to chirp, 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 chirp. It is a dry, rasping sound. It is steady. It is the metronome of the night. It does not speed up. It does not slow down. It just is. Another cricket answers from across the street. Then another. Soon there is a soft chorus of chirping, a blanket of sound that weaves through the darkness. It is not loud. It is a background texture like the grain of the stone or the stars in the sky. You open your eyes. The sky is now fully dark. The blue has turned to black. The stars are brilliant. Without the lights of a modern city, the Roman sky is a crowded tapestry of light. The Milky Way is a smear of diamond dust across the center of the heavens. You can see the constellations that the ancients named: the Hunter, the Bear, the Lyre. They hang heavy and bright, looking down on the sleeping roofs. Everything is slow, everything is heavy, everything is quiet. You are simply an observer, a silent witness to the unremarkable, beautiful boredom of an ancient night. There is no plot to follow. There is no puzzle to solve. There is only the street, the stone, and the stars. The papana across the way is closing now. You see the innkeeper step out. He is wiping a table with a rag. He blows out the lamp that hung by the door. The orange rectangle of light vanishes, swallowed instantly by the dark. He goes inside. You hear the heavy bolt slide across the door. Clunk. Now the street is truly dark. The only light comes from the moon, which is just beginning to rise over the rooftops. It is a half moon, pale and silver. It casts a different kind of light than the sun. It is a cold, ghostly light that turns the world into monochrome. The red of the tiles becomes gray. The ochre of the walls becomes silver. The moonlight hits the water in the fountain. It glitters like liquid metal. The shadows become sharper, blacker. The world is reduced to high contrast, light and dark, sound and silence. You breathe in slowly. The air is so still. It feels thick, as if you are breathing in a liquid. It fills your lungs, cool and calming. You breathe out. A gentle breeze picks up, just a sigh of wind. It moves the dust on the street in little swirls. It touches your face like a cool hand. It passes and is gone. This is the Roman peace. Not the peace of treaties, but the peace of the hour after the lamps are extinguished. The peace of exhausted bodies resting on wool mattresses. The peace of a world that has paused to recover its strength. You are part of this peace. You are drifting through it, weightless. We leave the street behind now. The heavy wooden door of a house stands slightly ajar, a rare oversight, or perhaps left for a family member returning late. We slip through the gap. The noise of the city, already faint, disappears almost entirely. You are now standing in the fossés, the narrow entryway hallway. It is pitch black here, save for the pale moonlight spilling in from the street behind you and a softer gray light coming from ahead. The air inside is different. It is stiller. It smells of old wax, polished wood, and the faint, dry scent of dried lavender bundles hanging from the rafters. Take a slow step forward. The floor beneath your feet changes. It is no longer the large, uneven paving stones of the street. It is smoother. It is a mosaic floor. Thousands of tiny cubes of stone, tesserae, hand-cut and hand-laid. Even through the soles of your sandals, or perhaps in your imagination where you are barefoot, you can feel the texture. It is cool and hard. It is perfectly flat, yet textured by the thousands of tiny grout lines between the stones. Walk slowly down the hallway, step, pause. You emerge into the atrium. This is the heart of the house, but tonight it is an empty chamber of shadows and silence. It is a large, high-ceilinged room. Above, in the center of the roof, is the compluvium, a square opening to the sky. Through it, you can see a perfect square of stars, framed by the dark silhouette of the roof tiles. Directly below the opening lies the impluvium, a shallow sunken pool designed to catch rainwater. Tonight there is no rain. The pool is filled with still, dark water. It acts as a mirror. The moon has climbed higher now, and its reflection is caught in the center of the dark water. A perfect, shivering circle of silver in a square of black stone. Move closer to the pool. The water is motionless. It looks like black glass. If you were to touch it, you would disturb the moon, so you do not touch it. You simply watch it. The reflection is so clear you can see the dark patches on the moon's surface, the seas that the ancients wondered about. The only sound in this room is the settling of the house itself. Creak, A timber in the roof contracts as it cools. Then silence returns. A silence that feels heavy, like a thick wool blanket draped over the furniture. Around the atrium, the doors to the small bedrooms, the cubicula, are closed. Behind those wooden doors, people are sleeping. You can imagine the rhythm of their breathing, slow and steady, matching the rhythm of the night. But you are here in the open space, alone with the architecture. The walls are painted in panels of deep red and black, typical of the style. In the darkness, the red looks almost brown, a warm, earthy color. The black panels absorb the shadows, making the room feel vast and deep. There are frescoes painted in the center of the panels, scenes of gardens or birds or myths. But in this light, they are just ghostly shapes. A splash of white pigment might be a nymph's arm or a swan's wing. It doesn't matter. They are just patterns in the dark. You turn away from the atrium and walk deeper into the house, towards the peristylium. This is the open courtyard garden at the back of the house. As you step into the colonnade, the air changes again. It becomes fresher, scented with living things. This is a private world, a square of nature tamed and enclosed within stone walls. A row of columns surrounds the garden. They are painted white, smooth plaster over brick. They glow faintly in the moonlight like bones. You reach out and touch a column. The plaster is cold and slightly rough, like an eggshell. It feels solid. It supports the weight of the roof above you without effort. It has stood here for decades, holding up the tiles, witnessing thousands of nights just like this one. You sit down on a low marble bench between two columns. The stone sucks the heat from your legs, a grounding, cooling sensation. You lean back against the pillar. Look at the garden. It is not a wild forest. It is orderly. It is calm. There are low hedges of boxwood trimmed into neat geometric shapes. In the dark, they look like soft green walls. There is a rosemary bush. You can smell it, a piney, sharp scent that clears the mind. There is an acanthus plant, its large, spiky leaves casting jagged shadows on the dirt. In the center of the garden, there is another fountain. This one is smaller than the street fountain. It is a decorative piece, perhaps a statue of a boy holding a fish. The water does not gush, it trickles. Drip, drip, drip. It slides down the mossy stone of the statue and falls into the basin with a very soft, wet sound. It is a sound so quiet you would miss it if you were speaking. But you are not speaking. You are listening. Drip, silence, drip. Watch a single leaf on a fig tree nearby. The air is so still that the leaf hangs perfectly motionless. It is a large, hand-shaped leaf. It is dark green, almost black in the night. It does not flutter. It waits for the sun. But the sun is hours away. For now, the leaf rests. On the ground near the hedge, something moves, very slowly. It is a snail. Focus on the snail. It is moving across a stone slab. Its shell is a spiral of brown and cream. Its movement is so slow it is almost imperceptible. It glides on a trail of silver slime that glistens in the moonlight. It extends its eye stalks, sensing the cool night air. It turns, a fraction of an inch at a time, navigating the vast landscape of the garden floor. There is no rush for the snail. It has all night to cross the stone. Watching it is hypnotic. It demands nothing from you. It is simply a small life continuing its slow journey. Above the garden, the sky is framed by the edges of the roof. The stars seem brighter here, away from the street lamps. You can see the Pleiades, a tiny cluster of blue diamonds huddled together. The Romans call them the Seven Sisters. They twinkle rapidly, shimmering through the layers of the atmosphere. A gentle breeze stirs the garden. The fig leaf moves just once. A soft rustle like silk rubbing against silk. Then it is still again. The scent of the rosemary drifts stronger for a moment, then fades. You look down at the floor of the colonnade. It is also mosaic, but here the pattern is simple. A white background with a black border. You trace the line of the black border with your eyes. It goes straight, then turns a corner at a perfect right angle. Straight again, corner again. The predictability is soothing. The ancient craftsman who laid this floor measured it carefully. He placed each stone with intention, order, structure, calm. There is a clay amphora standing in the corner of the colonnade. It is tall, with 2 handles and a pointed base resting in a stand. It is meant for holding wine or oil, but now it is empty. It is just a shape, a curve of terracotta. The moonlight hits the curve, creating a crescent of light on the dark clay. Shadows pool inside the mouth of the jar. It is a vessel of silence. Your breathing slows down to match the trickling of the fountain. In, for the count of the drip. Out, for the count of the drip. The house feels incredibly secure. The walls are thick stone. The city outside is asleep. There are no intruders, no alarms, no urgent messages. There is only the slow rotation of the earth, turning the garden away from the sun and into the depths of the void. You close your eyes for a moment in the scene. You can feel the presence of the history around you. Not the history of books, but the history of being. The millions of people who have sat in gardens just like this, looking at the same moon, feeling the same tiredness. You are connected to them by this quiet moment. You are one of them, a citizen of the night. Open your eyes. The moon has moved, just a tiny bit. The shadow of the column has shifted an inch to the right. Time is passing, but it is not running out. It is flowing like the water in the fountain. A moth flutters into the garden. It is pale gray, almost white. It flies erratically, silently. It lands on the white plaster of the column, vanishing against the background. It folds its wings. It becomes part of the stone. The temperature drops another degree. You feel a pleasant chill on your arms, prompting you to pull your imaginary cloak tighter. The warmth of your own body feels cozy against the cool air. It is a contrast that makes sleep feel inviting. To be warm in a cool place is one of the oldest comforts. Let your gaze drift to the roof tiles again. They are old. Some are chipped. Moss grows in the cracks between them, small cushions of velvet green that appear black now. The moss drinks the dew that is beginning to form. The dew is settling on everything. A fine, wet layer is coating the leaves of the boxwood, the marble of the bench, the terracotta of the tiles. It is a slow, invisible process. The world is being washed. You are sitting in the center of a sleeping empire. To the north, the legions are sleeping in their tents. To the south, the grain ships are bobbing at anchor in the harbor of Ostia, their sails furled. Here in the garden, you are the center of the stillness. There is nothing left to see here. You have seen the stone, the water, the leaf, the moon. You have heard the silence. It is time to move again, but not far. Just a slow drift to a new location. You stand up from the bench. Your legs feel heavy, relaxed. You walk quietly out of the garden, back through the atrium. The reflection of the moon in the pool has shifted. It is no longer in the center. The geometry has changed. You move towards the stairs. They are made of wood, polished and dark. You place a hand on the rail. It is smooth. You take the first step. Creak, a soft sound. Second step, silence. Third step, creak. You are ascending slowly into the deeper privacy of the upper floor. The air gets slightly warmer as you rise, the heat of the day trapped in the upper timbers. You reach the landing. A corridor stretches out, lined with doors. At the end of the corridor, there is a window with no glass, just a wooden shutter that is open. Through it, you can see the rooftops of the city stretching out like a sea of waves. You walk to the window. You lean on the sill. Below you, the city of Rome lies spread out. It is a landscape of jagged shadows and flat roofs. There are no streetlights, just the occasional dot of orange fire from a watchman's torch miles away. It looks like a landscape of mountains and valleys, but made of brick and tile. The smell of wood smoke is faint up here. The air is thinner, clearer. You look out towards the horizon. You cannot see where the city ends and the countryside begins. It is all just shades of dark blue and black. You are simply existing, waiting for nothing, thinking of nothing, just watching the night deepen. The pacing of the night is glacial, slow, deliberate, eternal. You leave the view of the rooftops. You turn away from the window and the vast, sleeping city. It is time to go back down. You descend the stairs, the wood groaning softly under your weight, and exit the house through the side door. You are back on the street. It is darker now. The moon has climbed higher, but the shadows in the narrow alleyways are deep and absolute. You walk slowly. The air here is different. You can smell it before you see it. It is a warm, earthly scent. It is the smell of toasted grain, of yeast, of fire that has recently died down but not gone out. You are approaching a pistrinum, a bakery. In Rome, the bread is life. And even when the city sleeps, the bread is beginning its slow journey toward the morning. The door to the bakery is not locked, but it is heavy. It is a thick slab of oak, reinforced with iron bands. You push it open. It swings inward with a heavy, muted drag against the stone floor. Scrap. You step inside. The first thing that hits you is the warmth. While the street outside was cool with the night air, this room holds the memory of heat. It is a dry, enveloping warmth. It feels like wrapping yourself in a heavy wool blanket that has been sitting in the sun. It relaxes your muscles instantly. The room is large and cavernous. It is lit by a single, low-burning lantern hanging from a hook on the wall. The light is dim, casting long, wavering shadows that stretch across the floor. Dominating the center of the room are the millstones, the molly. They are massive, silent shapes in the gloom. Stand before one of them. It is made of gray volcanic rock, porous and incredibly hard. It is shaped like a giant hourglass resting on a cone. Touch the stone. It is rough. Your fingers graze the sharp, tiny pits in the surface of the basalt. It feels ancient. It feels unmoving. During the day, a donkey or a slave would be harnessed to this stone, walking in endless circles to grind the grain. The noise would be deafening, the grinding of stone on stone, the crushing of wheat. But now, silence. Absolute, heavy silence. The stone stands still like a dormant mountain. A fine layer of white flour dust coats the gray rock, softening its edges. It looks like snow on a dark peak. The air in the room is thick with this dust. It is not choking, it is just present. You can see the tiny motes of flour dancing in the weak beam of light from the lantern. They float. They swirl in slow motion. They take minutes to fall just a few inches. Watch one speck of dust. It catches the orange light. It drifts down, down, down. It lands silently on the wooden table. Move deeper into the room. To your left is the kneading table. It is a long, solid bench made of smooth, worn wood. The wood has been scrubbed thousands of times. It is pale and soft to the touch, polished by the oil of the grain and the hands of the bakers. On the table, covered by a heavy linen cloth, lies the dough. This is the only living thing in the room right now. The dough is resting. It is rising. Lift the corner of the linen cloth gently. Underneath is a pale, smooth mound. It smells sour and sweet at the same time, the smell of natural leaven, the fermentum. The dough is moving, but you cannot see the movement. It is too slow for the human eye. Inside that mound, millions of tiny bubbles are forming, expanding, pushing the dough upwards against the weight of gravity. It is a slow, chemical breathing. Expand, expand, rest. If you listen very closely, putting your ear near the mound, you might hear the tiniest sound. A microscopic pop as a bubble shifts, or the faint, wet sound of the gluten stretching. It is the sound of chemistry doing its work in the dark. Cover it back up. Let it sleep. It needs the warmth and the quiet to become bread. At the back of the room is the fornax, the oven. It is a massive structure of brick and tile, shaped like a beehive. The fire inside was raked out hours ago, but the bricks are still hot. They radiate a steady, invisible wave of heat that pushes against your face. You walk closer to the oven mouth. It is a dark, arched opening. Deep inside, way at the back of the oven floor, there is a faint red glow. A bed of embers is buried under the ash, keeping the heart of the oven alive until morning. The glow pulses very faintly, dim, brighten, dim. It is like the heartbeat of the bakery. The heat is comforting. It dries the dampness from your clothes. It makes your eyelids feel heavy. Next to the oven, there are stacks of wood, bundles of faggots and dried olive branches tied with twine. They are stacked neatly, waiting for the dawn fire. The bark is rough and peeling. There is a smell of dry pine resin coming from the wood pile, mixing with the smell of the yeast. In the corner of the room, on a pile of empty grain sacks, a boy is sleeping. He is the apprentice. He is perhaps 12 years old. He is curled up, his tunic dusted with flour. His breathing is deep and rhythmic. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. He does not move. He is in the deepest part of his sleep. His day will begin before the sun rises, but for now he belongs to the night. The sacks he sleeps on are made of burlap, coarse, woven hemp. They are filled with straw. They look scratchy, but to him they are a soft bed. Seeing him sleep makes you feel tired. It reminds you that the natural state of the night is rest. The work is done. The next work has not yet begun. This is the pause. You turn your attention to the shelves on the wall. They are simple wooden planks. On them sit clay bowls, measuring cups, and a few finished loaves from yesterday that were not sold. The loaves are round, scored into 8 sections like a wheel. They are hard now, stale bread that will be soaked in wine or soup. The clay of the bowls is unglazed, rough terra sigillata. A small mouse scuttles along the top shelf. It does not see you. It moves quickly, its tiny claws making a faint scratch on the wood. It stops near a bag of flour. It sniffs. Its whiskers twitch. Then just as quickly it disappears behind a jar. The movement was brief. It does not break the peace. It only emphasizes how still everything else is. You lean against the wall. The plaster is warm. You look up at the ceiling. The rafters are blackened with soot from years of smoke. Shadows cling to the corners of the ceiling, thick and impenetrable. There is a spider web in the corner between 2 beams. It is covered in flour dust, making it look like a lace decoration. It hangs motionless. The spider is nowhere to be seen. The atmosphere here is heavy. It is a density that you can feel. It is a combination of the heat, the smell of the yeast, and the enclosed space. It feels like the air is slower here, thicker. You feel yourself slowing down to match it. Your heartbeat slows, your thoughts slow. There is nothing to think about here. There is only the dough rising. Rise, wait, rise. There is a bucket of water near the kneading table. The surface of the water is perfectly flat. It reflects the single lantern, a small orange dot in the black liquid. A drop of condensation falls from the ceiling. Plip, it hits the water. Ripples spread out, perfect concentric circles. They widen, hitting the sides of the bucket, and bounce back, creating a complex pattern of interference that slowly, very slowly, fades back to smoothness. Watch the water return to glass. It takes a long time. Finally, the orange dot is still again. The silence of the bakery is different from the silence of the garden. The garden was an open silence, full of the sky. This is a closed silence, a womb-like silence. It is protective. The thick stone walls keep the world out. Here there are only the essentials of life: grain, water, fire, stone. You walk over to the sacks of grain stacked against the far wall. They are piled high, heavy mounds of wheat brought from Egypt or Sicily. You run your hand over the burlap. It is rough, scratchy. You press your hand against the sack. It is solid, packed tight. Inside, millions of grains of wheat are sleeping, potential energy waiting to be released. The smell of the raw grain is dusty and dry. It smells of summer fields, of hot sun and dry earth preserved here in the dark. You find a stool, a simple three-legged wooden seat. You sit down. The wood is polished smooth. You rest your elbows on your knees. You watch the embers in the oven. The red glow is hypnotic. It doesn't flicker like a flame, it pulsates. It is a deep, angry red that fades to black at the edges. As you watch, a piece of ash flakes off a log inside. It falls. A tiny shower of sparks rises up, swirls for a second, and dies out. Then stillness returns. The apprentice shifts in his sleep. He mumbles something unintelligible. A name, a number. It is lost instantly. He settles back into the burlap. The rhythm of the room reestablishes itself. The hum of the silence. The warmth of the stones. You are witnessing the slow chemistry of the night, the transformation of ingredients into food. It is a process that requires patience. It cannot be rushed. The Romans built an empire on speed and efficiency, on roads and marches. But here in the Pistrinum, the empire waits. The dough dictates the time. The yeast dictates the schedule. And right now, they say, wait. You close your eyes in the scene. You can feel the warmth on your cheeks. You can smell the sourdough. You can hear the silence ringing in your ears, a soft, white noise. Imagine the yeast cells dividing, one becoming two, two becoming four, a microscopic multiplication that happens in the dark. It is a comforting thought. Work is being done without effort. Nature is taking its course while the city sleeps. A draft from under the door stirs the flour dust on the floor. The white powder shifts like sand in a desert, forming tiny dunes against the leg of the table. The movement is fluid, silent. The light from the lantern flickers once, casting the shadows into a brief dance, then steadies. The oil in the lamp is low. The flame is getting smaller, sleepier. The orange light turns to a deep amber. The corners of the room recede further into the darkness. The world of the bakery is shrinking, becoming just the oven and the table. You are safe here. It is warm, it is quiet, it is boring, and that is exactly what makes it beautiful. You sit there for what feels like an hour, or maybe a minute. Time is hard to measure when there is no sun. The only clock is the rising dough. You check under the cloth one last time. The mound is slightly higher, smoother. It is working. You cover it up. You stand up slowly. Your joints feel loose, relaxed by the heat. You look at the sleeping boy one last time. You look at the silent millstones. You turn to the heavy door. You push it open again. Scrap. The cool air of the street hits you like a soft towel. It feels refreshing after the heat of the bakery. You step out. The door closes behind you with a dull thud. The warmth is left behind, sealed inside with the bread. You are back in the blue-gray world of the Roman street. The moon has crossed the meridian. It is starting its descent. The night is fully mature now, deep, established, and heavy. You leave the warmth of the bakery street behind. The air feels cooler now, perhaps because the memory of the oven is fading from your skin, or perhaps because the night has truly settled into its coldest hour. You walk down a wide avenue. The basalt stones here are massive, laid in a pattern that looks like the scales of a giant fish. Ahead of you looms a massive shape. It blocks out a huge section of the stars. It is the local therme, the public bathhouse. During the day, this place is a hive of noise, shouting, laughing, splashing, the slapping of massage, the clinking of game pieces. But now, it is a mountain of silence. The main gates are locked, barred with iron, but there is a small service door at the side, used by the slaves who tend the furnaces. It is open just a crack. You slip through. You are inside. The change in the acoustic atmosphere is instant. Outside, the sound of the wind was flat and open. Inside, the silence has a weight. It presses against your ears. It is a vast, hollow silence that seems to stretch upwards into the darkness. You are in the apoditerium, the changing room. The moonlight filters in through high, narrow windows, cutting through the gloom in pale, dusty beams. Look at the walls. They are lined with rows of square niches, hundreds of them honeycomb-like holes in the stone. During the day, these are stuffed with tunics, togas, and sandals. Now they are empty shadows. They look like empty eyes watching the room. Walk down the center of the room. The floor is a mosaic of black and white sea creatures, dolphins, octopuses, fish. In the dim light, they look like they are swimming in a gray sea. Your footsteps echo, step, echo, echo. The sound travels up to the vaulted ceiling and bounces back, softer, ghostly. On a stone bench, someone has forgotten a strigil. It is a curved metal tool used for scraping oil from the skin. It sits there, catching a glint of moonlight. It is made of bronze, dull and heavy. Next to it is a small clay flask of oil. It is tipped over empty. A small dark stain on the stone shows where the oil spilled and dried. The smell in this room is faint but distinct. It smells of old olive oil, damp stone, and the distant, metallic tang of plumbing. You move through an archway into the frigidarium, the cold room. This is the grandest hall. The ceiling soars high above you, a massive groin vault made of concrete and brick, covered in plaster. You cannot see the top in the darkness, it just dissolves into shadow. In the center is the pool. It is a large rectangle of water. Walk to the edge. The water is absolutely still. It is a mirror of black obsidian. It reflects the high windows perfectly. The water is cold. You can feel the chill coming off it, a layer of cool air that hovers just above the surface. Listen, drip. Somewhere far across the hall, a single drop of water falls from a leaky pipe. It hits the surface of the pool, plip. The sound is sharp and clear. It rings like a tiny bell. Then the echo follows, plip, plip, plip. It ripples through the air, fading into nothing. You wait for the next one. You wait and wait, plip. There it is. The rhythm is slow, irregular. It is the only clock in this vast stone cavern. You walk around the edge of the pool. The marble floor is smooth, cool underfoot. It is polished to a high sheen. There are statues lining the walls. Gods and heroes frozen in marble. Hercules leans on his club. Venus wrings water from her hair. In the dark, they look like pale ghosts. They are silent observers. They do not judge, they just stand as they have stood for years, watching the water. A draft of air moves through the hall. It is cold. It stirs the surface of the water slightly, blurring the reflections of the windows, turning them into jagged lines of silver. Then the wind dies, and the glass returns. You move on, seeking warmth. You pass through a heavy set of bronze doors into the tepidarium, the warm room. The feeling changes instantly. The air here is thick, it is humid. It feels heavy in your lungs, the floor is warmer. Underneath these stones, the hypocaust system, the underground heating, still holds the heat of the day's fires. It radiates up through the soles of your feet. It is a gentle, pervasive warmth. There is no pool here, just benches and open space. The walls are painted in rich reds and yellows, but the steam has softened the colors, making them look like a faded watercolor painting. There is a mist hanging in the air. It is not thick fog, just a haze of vapor that catches the moonlight. It swirls slowly, drifting in lazy currents. You sit on a marble bench. It is warm. The warmth seeps into your back. It relaxes your shoulders. The silence here is muffled by the humidity. The echoes are softer, deadened by the heavy air. It feels like being inside a cloud. You breathe in the moisture. It tastes of minerals and wet stone. Condensation has formed on the ceiling. You look up. You can see droplets of water gathering on the curve of the vault. They grow heavier, until gravity takes them. Drop. A drop falls to the floor. Splat. It is a duller sound than in the cold room. A wet, soft sound. Another drop falls nearby. Splat. It is raining very slowly inside the room. You close your eyes. The humidity wraps around you like a warm towel. You are floating in the warmth. The world outside, the cold street, the hard stone, the stars, feels very far away. Here, there is only the steam and the stone. You stand up, moving slower now, your body heavy with the heat. You walk towards the final room, the caldarium, the hot room. You push through a heavy leather curtain that separates the rooms. Heat hits you. This room is close to the furnace. The floor is hot, almost too hot to touch, but your imaginary sandals protect you. In the center is a large round basin, the labrum, filled with water. Steam rises from it in thick, white columns. The water is still warm, though the fires are banked. The steam rises straight up, undisturbed by any wind. It twists and curls, forming shapes that dissolve as soon as they are made. There is a window here facing south. The moon is shining directly through the steam. The light catches the vapor, turning it into a glowing, translucent curtain. You walk to the edge of the basin. The water is dark, but you can feel the heat radiating from it. It smells of sulfur, a mineral smell from the spring water. It is a strong, earthy scent. The room feels small, intimate compared to the vast, cold hall. It feels like a womb. You walk to the wall. There are clay pipes embedded behind the plaster here, carrying hot air up from the floor. You put your hand on the wall. It is vibrating very, very faintly. A low, almost imperceptible hum. It is the sound of the draft in the hypocaust, the air moving through the tunnels beneath your feet. It is a steady, droning vibration. HMMMMMMMMM. It is a white noise that you feel rather than hear. It grounds you. You find a dry spot in the corner away from the splashes. You sit on a wooden stool left by an attendant. You watch the steam. It creates a hypnotic dance. Swirl left, swirl right, rise, fade. It never repeats the same pattern twice, yet it always looks the same. It is mesmerizing. Your eyelids feel heavy. The heat is soporific. It presses on you, urging you to sleep. But you must keep watch. You are the witness of the night. Through the window, you can see a cypress tree outside. It is black against the dark blue sky. It does not move. The contrast between the hot, steamy interior and the cold, crisp exterior is sharp. You are in a bubble of civilization, a triumph of Roman engineering that conquers the cold of the night. You stand up and walk back towards the entrance, back through the tepidarium. The air feels cooler now, back through the frigidarium. The cold hits you, waking you up slightly, but the relaxation remains deep in your muscles. The pool is still there. Plip. The water is still dripping. It hasn't stopped. It won't stop. It measures the night drop by drop. You walk past the silent statues. Good night, Hercules, you think. He does not answer. He stares at the darkness. You walk through the changing room. The empty niches watch you go. The shadows seem to have lengthened. The moon has moved across the sky, dragging the beams of light with it. You reach the service door. You step out. The night air feels shockingly fresh. It bites at your skin, closing your pores. You take a deep breath. The air tastes of ozone and woodsmoke. The bathhouse looms behind you, a silent giant holding its breath of steam. You are back on the street. The stones are cold again. The silence of the city returns, but now you carry the memory of the echoing water in your ears. Plip, echo, plip. You walk away from the massive building. Your footsteps on the street seem louder now after the muffled atmosphere of the steam rooms. Slap, slap, slap. You are walking towards the residential district again. The streets are narrower here. The buildings lean in close. There is a sense of intimacy in these small streets. You pass a wall covered in graffiti. In the daylight, you would read messages. Marcus loves Julia, or vote for Gaius, or the landlord is a thief. Now in the moonlight, they are just scratches in the plaster, unreadable textures, history without words, just marks on a wall. A cat sits on a barrel, washing its paw. It pauses as you pass. Its eyes reflect the moonlight, glowing green for a second. It resumes its washing. Lick, lick, lick. A rhythmic sandpaper sound. It is focused entirely on its task. It does not care about the empire, it cares about its paw. You keep walking. The grade of the street is rising. You are walking uphill towards one of the 7 hills. The physical effort is mild, just enough to feel the muscles in your legs working. It feels good to move. The city feels endless, a labyrinth of stone and shadow, but it is a safe labyrinth. You know the way. Ahead you see a small glow. It is a shrine at a crossroads, a compitum. These are the shrines to the Lares Compitals, the guardian spirits of the neighborhoods. A small oil lamp is burning there, left by a pious neighbor. The flame is shielded by a small roof of tile. It flickers in the breeze. You stop at the shrine. There is a small offering of flowers, now wilted in the night air, and a small piece of honeycomb. Ants are marching in a line towards the honey. A black line of tiny life moving across the white stone of the altar. They work while the city sleeps. They are silent, efficient. You watch them for a moment. The focus on the tiny insects makes the rest of the world blur. There is only the line, moving, moving. You look up from the shrine. The street continues upward, disappearing into the dark. The destination doesn't matter. The journey is the destination, just the walking, and the silence, and the night. You leave the crossroads shrine and the ants to their silent work. You continue up the gentle slope of the hill. The houses here are larger, set back from the street behind high walls. These are the homes of the wealthy, the domus of senators and knights. But in the dark, they are just walls. You find a gate that is unlocked. You slip inside, moving like a shadow across a courtyard. You are heading for a specific room, a room of quiet thought. You enter the house through a side entrance, bypassing the sleeping family. You walk down a corridor that smells of cedar wood and beeswax. You step into the bibliotheca, the library. It is a small room, intimate and enclosed. It is not a grand public hall, but a private sanctuary for study. The air here is distinct. It is dry. It smells of the Nile River, the grassy, reedy scent of papyrus. It smells of leather, of soot ink, and of the sharp, resinous cedar wood of the shelves. It is the smell of old knowledge. The room is lit by a single bronze lamp on a desk. The lamp is shaped like a foot, a whimsical detail that is now just a silhouette. The flame is steady, shielded by the high walls of the room. Look at the walls. They are lined with wooden cabinets, the armaria. These are not open shelves, but cupboards with doors. Some of the doors are open. Inside, you can see the honeycomb pattern of the scrolls. They are stacked horizontally end to end, hundreds of them. They are the color of oatmeal, cream, and brown. From the end of each scroll hangs a small tag, a syllabus. It is a strip of leather or parchment with the title of the book written in red ink. The tags dangle motionless in the still air. Virgil, Livy, Cicero, they are just names now, sleeping voices. In the center of the room is a heavy wooden desk. Sitting at the desk is a man. He is a scholar, perhaps a freedman or a tutor. He is old. His hair is thin and white, catching the lamp light like spun glass. He is wearing a simple tunic. He is not moving. He is staring at a scroll spread out before him. He is not reading frantically. He is studying. He is lost in a sentence written 200 years ago. Move closer to the desk. Do not disturb him. He is too deep in thought to notice you. Look at the scroll on the desk. It is made of papyrus. Focus on the texture of the paper. It is not smooth like modern paper. It is a grid. You can see the strips of the reed laid vertically on one side and horizontally on the other. They were hammered together while wet, their natural sap acting as glue, then dried in the Egyptian sun. If you look closely, you can see the tiny imperfections in the weave. A slightly darker strip here, a knot in the fiber there. The surface is slightly fuzzy. It has a tooth. The color is a warm, rich beige. It reflects the yellow light of the lamp, making the page look like it is glowing from within. On the scroll there are columns of text. The letters are written in black ink, atramentum. The handwriting is elegant, a rustic capital script. The letters are tall and narrow, A, B, C. They march across the page in perfect, disciplined line. There is no punctuation, no spaces between the words, just a continuous river of letters. The scholar must read it aloud softly to make sense of the words. Listen, he whispers. Arma verum cano. His voice is like dry leaves rustling. It is barely a sound, it is a breath. He pauses. He traces the line with his finger. His fingernail is short and clean. It slides over the ridges of the papyrus. Scritch, scritch, a tiny sound of skin against dried reed. To his right sits the inkwell. It is a double inkwell made of bronze. One side holds black ink, the other red. Focus on the black ink. It is a liquid made of soot, gum arabic, and water. It is dark, opaque, and glossy. It sits in the well perfectly still, a pool of midnight. If you were to touch it, it would stain your skin for days. It is permanent. It is the memory of the empire liquefied. Next to the inkwell lies the pen, the calamus. It is a section of reed cut from a riverbank. One end has been sharpened with a knife to a fine point, then split down the middle to hold the ink. The tip is stained black. The scholar picks up the pen, watch his hand. It is wrinkled with veins that map the history of his life. He moves slowly. There is no rush. The thought he is chasing will not flee. He dips the pen into the inkwell. Dip. He does not splash. He submerges the tip just enough. He lifts it. A drop of excess ink falls back into the well. Drip. A black circle ripples on the black surface. He brings the pen to the scroll. He hovers. He is deciding the next word. The shadow of the pen falls across the paper. He lowers the tip. Touch. The ink flows instantly. It is pulled from the reed by the fibers of the papyrus. He draws a vertical line. Scratch. The sound is distinct. It is a friction sound. Hard reed on rough paper. Scratch. Scritch. Scratch. He writes the letter M. 2 peaks and a valley. He lifts the pen. He dips again. Dip. Scratch. The letter E. Scratch. The letter N. This is the sound of history being written. Not the clash of swords, but the scratching of a reed in a quiet room. It is a hypnotic rhythm. Dip. Write. Dip. Write. It is a slow, methodical transfer of thought into matter. The smell of the ink reaches you. It smells slightly metallic, slightly burnt. It mixes with the smell of the papyrus. The room feels timeless. This scene could be happening in 100 BC or 100 AD. It is the eternal present of the library. Dust motes dance in the cone of light from the lamp. They are suspended in the air. They swirl around the scholar's head like a halo of thought. One dust mote lands on the desk, then another. The room is slowly collecting the dust of the night. On a shelf behind the scholar there is a stack of wax tablets, tabulae. They are wooden frames filled with black beeswax. They are used for temporary notes. A metal stylus lies next to them. One end is pointed for writing, the other flat for erasing, smoothing the wax flat again. The wax is dull and matte. It absorbs the light. It waits to be scarred by the stylus, then smoothed over, then scarred again. An endless cycle of remembering and forgetting. The scholar stops writing. He sighs. It is a long, slow exhalation. He rubs his eyes with his knuckles. He is tired. The intellectual labor is heavy. He looks at the flame of the lamp. The wick is a twisted piece of linen. It is blackening at the tip. A small crust of carbon has formed on the wick. He reaches out with a small pair of tongs and pinches the wick. Snip. The flame flares up brighter for a second, then settles back down. The light becomes steady again. He picks up a small shaker of sand. He shakes it over the wet ink on the scroll to dry it. Shhh. The sand hits the paper like quiet rain. It sticks to the wet ink, turning the glossy black to a matte gray. He blows gently on the page. Whoosh. The excess sand skitters across the desk and falls to the floor. He rolls up the scroll. The papyrus crinkles, crinkle, rustle, roll. He rolls it tight. He takes the leather thong attached to the end and wraps it around the cylinder. He ties a simple knot. The knowledge is secured. He places the scroll back in the round bucket, the capsa, at his feet. It joins a dozen other scrolls, standing upright like soldiers in a silo. Now the desk is empty, save for the lamp and the pen. The scholar stands up. His chair scrapes against the wooden floor. Scrap, a harsh sound in the quiet. He stretches. You hear the soft pop of a joint in his back. He picks up the lamp. The shadows in the room swing wildly as the light source moves. The cupboards loom tall, then shrink. He walks to the door. You follow him with your eyes. He steps into the hallway. The library is left in darkness, but it is not empty. It is full of the smell of the papyrus and the invisible weight of the words. You stay in the dark room for a moment. Without the lamp, the room is pitch black. You can only smell cedar, ink, dust. The silence rushes back in to fill the space left by the scratching pen. It is a dense silence. The wood of the shelves absorbs sound. You feel completely enclosed, hidden, buried in the center of the house. You turn and find your way out by the memory of the path. You step back into the courtyard. The air outside feels thin and empty after the richness of the library. The moon is high overhead. It is a gibbous moon now, bulging and bright. It washes the courtyard in silver. A small fountain in the center of this courtyard is turned off for the night to save water. The basin is damp but silent. You walk towards the garden gate. You pass a statue of Minerva. She wears a helmet and holds a spear. In the moonlight, her marble eyes seem to track you, but she is stone. She does not care. She is merely another surface for the dew to settle on. You touch the base of the statue. It is cold. Everything in the city is slowly cooling down, equalizing with the temperature of the night air. The heat of the day is a distant memory. You exit the house. You are back on the street. The stones of the road stretch out before you. They go on forever, block after block, mile after mile. The city is a sleeping giant. You are walking on its skin. The pacing of the night has slowed even further. The middle of the night has passed. We are entering the deep hours. The hours when even the insomniacs have drifted off. The hours of the heavy eyelids. The hours of the deep breath. Far away, a rooster crows. It is a mistake. It is too early for dawn. The rooster crows once, a ragged, confused sound. Then it falls silent again. The silence that follows is even deeper than before. It swallowed the sound instantly. You keep walking. Your steps are automatic. Left, right, left, right. You don't need to look where you are going. The road carries you. You pass a shop that sells garum fish sauce. Even with the shutters closed, the smell is pungent. Salt, fish, fermentation. It is a strong, savory smell, but you pass it quickly and the air returns to the scent of dust and cool stone. You see a cart parked on the side of the road. It is a heavy delivery wagon. During the day, carts are banned from the streets of Rome to reduce congestion. So the night is the time for moving goods. But this cart is stationary. The oxen are unhitched. The driver is gone. It is piled high with timber, great logs of pine from the mountains. They smell of resin and forest. You run your hand along the rough bark of a log. It is sticky with sap. It is a piece of the wild forest brought into the stone city. It sits there waiting for the morning builders. Everything is waiting. Everything is paused. The wheels of the cart are rimmed with iron. They look cold and hard. They rest heavily on the paving stones. The weight of the wood presses down. Gravity is the only active force right now, holding the buildings down, holding the sleeper in his bed, holding the ink in the well. You continue past the cart. The street widens. You are approaching the Forum, the center of the world, but tonight it is just a collection of shadows. The street widens further. The buildings pull back. The sky opens up, revealing a vast dome of stars that seems to press down on the city. You have arrived. You are standing at the edge of the Forum Romanum. During the day, this is the loudest place on earth. It is a cacophony of lawyers screaming, politicians debating, bankers shouting odds, and priests chanting. It is a place of sweat, money, and power. But now, it is a graveyard of silence. It is a canyon of marble, silver, and black. You step onto the Via Sacra, the sacred way. The paving stones here are massive. They are great polygonal blocks of basalt fitted together like a puzzle by giants. They are polished smooth by millions of feet, the feet of emperors, slaves, soldiers, and triumphs. Now they are only for you. Your sandals make a crisp clack against the stone. Clack. The sound rings out. It travels across the open square, bounces off the white marble of a temple, and returns to you as a faint, ghostly echo. Clack. To your right rises the Basilica Julia. It is a mountain of columns, a vast covered hall where law courts sit. Walk towards it. The stairs leading up to it are wide and white. You sit down on the third step. The marble is cold. It sucks the warmth from your body, but it feels solid, grounding. Run your hand over the step. Under your fingers, you feel scratches in the stone. You look closer in the moonlight. They are lines, a grid, circles. It is a game board, tabula lusoria. Scratched there by bored men waiting for a verdict or by idlers wasting an afternoon. The game is finished. The players are gone. The pieces are cleared away. Only the scratches remain. History is recorded in the grand monuments, but also in these tiny, bored scratches on a stair. Look up at the columns of the basilica. They march into the darkness in perfect rows. 1, 2, 3, 4. They are white ghosts. The roof they support is lost in shadow. It looks like a cavern mouth. The wind blows through the columns. Woo. It is a low, mournful sound. The wind finding its way through the stone forest. There are no curtains to rustle here, just the friction of air against stone. You stand up and walk into the main square of the Forum. The space feels immense. Without the crowds, the scale of the buildings is terrifying. They were built to impress, to belittle the human form. In the dark, they succeed. You feel very small, a speck of life in a city of stone. To your left is the Temple of Castor and Pollux. 3 massive Corinthian columns stand against the sky. They are topped by an architrave that seems to float. The moonlight catches the acanthus leaves carved into the capitals. The carving is deep, intricate. You can see the shadows of the stone leaves. It is a frozen garden of marble high above your head. The temple podium is high, a fortress of brick faced with white stone. You walk past it. The shadow it casts is pitch black, a pool of ink on the ground. You walk through the shadow. For a moment, you are invisible. Then you emerge back into the silver light. Ahead of you is the Temple of Saturn, the treasury of Rome, where the gold is kept. But the gold makes no sound. The heavy bronze doors are shut tight. The temple stands silent, guarding its metal. The inscription on the front is barely visible. SCNATUSPOPULUSQUEROMANUS. The letters are just dents in the stone now. You walk towards the rostra, the great speaker's platform. This is where history is made with words. You climb the curved steps at the back. You stand on the platform. You look out over the empty forum. Imagine the sea of faces that usually fills this space. Now there is nothing, just the pale stones of the Via Sacra gleaming in the moonlight. The silence here is ironic. This is the place of the voice, but the voice is sleeping. On the front of the rostra, you see the bronze beaks of ships, the rostra captured in naval battles long ago. They jut out from the wall like spikes. They are dull green in the night, tarnished by the weather. They are cold to the touch. They smell of old metal. You lean on the railing. You are the orator of the night. Your speech is silence. Your audience is the moon. Across the square sits the Curia Julia, the Senate House. It is a tall, severe block of brick. The bronze doors are massive. They are closed. Behind those doors, the fate of the world is debated. But tonight, the seats are empty. The marble floor is swept clean. The air inside is stale and still. The power of Rome is just a building. Without the men in togas, it is just brick and mortar. It looks peaceful, harmless. A stray dog trots across the square. It is a skinny, yellow dog. It stops near the base of the column of focus. It sniffs the ground, it lifts its leg. It marks its territory on the center of the empire. Then it trots on, its claws clicking softly on the stones. Click, click, click. It disappears behind the arch of Septimius Severus. The empire does not notice. The night does not care. You step down from the rostra. You walk towards the eastern end of the Forum. The air changes slightly here. There is a smell of smoke, sweet, aromatic smoke. You are approaching the temple of Vesta. It is different from the other temples. It is round, a circle of white columns. The roof is conical tiled. Inside this temple, the fire never goes out. The Vestal Virgins tend it day and night. Even now, in the deepest hour, someone is awake inside. You cannot see her. You are not allowed inside, but you can see the glow. Through the grate in the door, a warm, flickering orange light spills out. It dances on the steps. It is a soft, living light, unlike the cold, dead light of the moon. You sit on a bench near the temple. You watch the flicker. Bright, dim, bright, dim. It is comforting. It means the city is still alive. The heart is still beating. You can smell the burning wood. It is sacred wood, perhaps oak or fruit tree. It smells like a hearth, like home. Smoke drifts out from the vent in the roof. A thin, gray ribbon rising straight up into the still air. It dissolves into the stars. The house of the Vestals is next door. It is a large complex with a courtyard full of statues and ponds. It is silent. The priestesses are sleeping in their cells. Only the one on duty watches the fire. You imagine her, sitting by the flames, fighting sleep, adding a log, watching the sparks fly up. Alone in the center of the vast, sleeping city. You feel a kinship with her. You are both watchers. The wind picks up again. It swirls dust around your feet. The dust of the Forum. This dust is old. It contains the pulverized stone of destroyed temples, the ashes of sacrifices, the dirt from the shoes of 1,000,000 travelers. It settles on your sandals. It settles on the hem of your imaginary tunic. The city is coating you in itself. You look up at the Palatine Hill looming over the Forum. The imperial palaces are up there, huge, sprawling structures. You can see the arched substructures, the vast retaining walls that hold up the hill. There are a few lights up there, torches on a balcony. Perhaps the emperor is awake. Perhaps he is pacing a marble floor, worried about a frontier war or a treacherous cousin. Or perhaps he is sleeping soundly, dreaming of grapes. From down here, it doesn't matter. The palace is just another dark shape against the sky, high above, distant, silent. You lean back against a column. The fluting of the column digs gently into your back. The ridges are sharp. The marble is smooth. You close your eyes. The silence of the Forum is heavy. It is a silence made of stone. It presses in on you. But it is not oppressive, it is restful. The history has stopped for the night. There are no dates being written right now. There are no decrees being signed. There is just the stone. You listen to the background noise of the night. It is a low hum, the sound of the wind, the distant barking of a dog, the very faint rumble of the Tiber River flowing half a mile away. It blends into a white noise, a blanket of sound. You open your eyes. The moon has moved behind the temple of Castor. A shadow has fallen across the Via Sacra. The light is changing. The night is moving forward inch by inch. You stand up. Your legs are stiff from the cold stone. You stretch. You begin to walk again. You walk past the temple of Julius Caesar. It is small, tucked away. Here they burn the body of the dictator. Now it is just a dark altar, a place of old ashes. You walk past the Regia, the old house of the kings, small, ancient, oddly shaped. It feels older than the rest. It feels like it grew out of the earth. You reach the Arch of Titus at the far end. You walk through the archway. Above you in the darkness of the vault are carvings of soldiers and menorahs and loot, but you cannot see them. You are just walking through a tunnel of stone. Your footsteps echo loudly here. Clack, clack, clack. Then you emerge on the other side. You are leaving the Forum behind. You look back one last time. The valley of marble lies still. The white columns glow faintly. The fire of Vesta flickers. The shadows possess the rest. It is a ghost city within a city, perfect, beautiful, dead asleep. You turn your back on the center of the world. You walk towards the colossal shape rising in the distance. The Flavian amphitheater, the Colosseum. It blocks out the stars like a man-made mountain. The road here is wide. The air is open. You are walking into the shadow of the giant. You move away from the Forum, leaving the temples and the flickering fire of Vesta behind. The road climbs slightly, and then the massive curved wall of the Flavian amphitheater, the Colosseum, rises before you. Up close it does not look like a building. It looks like a cliffside, a mountain of travertine stone carved by the hands of giants. In the daylight, this place is a roar of 80,000 voices, the smell of blood and the heat of the sun. But at night, it is a hollow shell, cold and hauntingly silent. You walk towards the outer perimeter. The moon shines through the thousands of arches, arcade after arcade, tier after tier. The moonlight passes through the building, creating a skeleton of light and shadow on the ground. The building seems to breathe with the wind as it whistles through the open stone windows. Find one of the great ground floor arches. Most are blocked by heavy iron gates, but one is open, perhaps left for the night watchmen who have long since retreated into a warmer corner. You step inside the outer corridor, the ambulatorium. The ceiling here is a massive barrel vault of concrete and brick. It is low and heavy. The air is instantly cooler, damp with the smell of wet earth and old lime. Your footsteps, which were sharp on the street, are now muffled by the layer of fine sand and dust that coats the floor. Thud, thud, thud. The sound is heavy like a heartbeat. Walk slowly along the curved corridor. To your right, the massive pillars of stone rise up. They are pitted and scarred. In the dark, you can feel the texture of the travertine. It is rough, full of tiny holes and ridges like the surface of a dried bone. It is solid. It feels as if it could hold up the entire world. To your left, narrow stairs lead up into the darkness. They are steep, the stone worn into smooth bowls in the center by the passage of millions of feet. You do not climb them. You stay in the shadows of the lower level. You move toward the center, passing through a dark tunnel that opens into the arena floor. You stop at the edge. The arena is a vast, open circle of sand. In the moonlight, the sand looks white like a field of snow. It is perfectly flat. The silence here is different from the Forum. The Forum was empty space. This is an enclosed space. The high walls of the seating tiers, the cavea, rise up all around you, shutting out the rest of the city. You are in a stone bowl, looking up at a circle of stars. Look at the seats. The bottom rows are for the senators. They are made of smooth, white marble. They glow like silver teeth. Higher up, the seats are made of simpler stone than wood. Those rows are lost in the blackness of the upper rim. There is no one there, no shouting, no cheering. The wind swirls around the circular walls, creating a soft, rushing sound. S-H-H-H-H-H-H-H. It sounds like the phantom echo of a crowd that has been gone for 1,000 years. It is a peaceful, rhythmic sound. You walk onto the sand. Your sandals sink slightly. The sand is cool. It shifts beneath your weight with a dry, rasping sound. Crunch, crunch. You walk to the very center of the arena. This is the spot where the eyes of the world would be fixed. But now the only eye is the moon, staring straight down. Look down at the floor. In several places, the sand has been pulled back to reveal the wooden floorboards beneath, and in some spots the boards are gone entirely. You are looking into the hypogeum, the underworld of the Colosseum. Below you is a labyrinth of brick walls, corridors, and cages. It is pitch black down there. The air rising from the pits is colder still. It smells of dampness and heavy iron. Imagine the silence in those tunnels. The elevators are still. The cages are empty. The pulleys and ropes are coiled like sleeping snakes. There is no movement. You sit down on a wooden beam near the edge of the pit. The wood is thick, weathered, and splintered. You look up at the rim of the building. The very top tier is crowned with a row of wooden masts. During the day, they hold the velarium, the great awning that shades the crowd. But now the sails are furled. The masts stand like tall spears against the constellations. The stars seem to move slowly across the curve of the top wall. Orion, the Pleiades, they take their turn watching the arena. A small owl flies across the open space. It is silent. It does not flap its wings, it simply glides, a white shape against the black tiers. It lands on the edge of a marble seat in the second tier. It turns its head. It lets out a soft, low hoot, hoo, hoo. The sound bounces once, twice, and then is swallowed by the stone. The owl is the only gladiator left tonight. It is hunting for mice in the cracks of the masonry. You lean back. The scale of the building is comforting in its permanence. It was built to last forever. The Romans called it an eternity, and sitting here in the dark, you believe them. The stone is indifferent to time. It is indifferent to the people who use it. It just exists. You close your eyes, focus on the sound of the wind. It is a low-frequency hum. It vibrates through the stone and into your body. It feels like the building is snoring. A giant made of brick and travertine, deep in a dreamless sleep. You breathe in the night air. It is clean here, away from the narrow alleys. It tastes of the sky. There is a faint scent of wild grass. Small plants grow in the cracks of the upper tiers, capers, wallflowers, and moss. The dew is settling on their leaves, making them heavy. You stay there for a long time. There is no reason to leave. The world outside doesn't exist. There is only the sand, the stone, and the stars. The moon begins to sink behind the southern wall. The shadow of the great rim starts to crawl across the arena floor. It moves like a slow tide, 1 foot, 2 feet. The white sand is slowly being reclaimed by the black shadow. You watch the line move. It is the slowest race in history. The shadow is winning. You stand up. Your legs feel heavy, as if they are turning to stone themselves. You walk back towards the tunnel. Your footsteps on the sand are the only sign that the world is still moving. Crunch, crunch. You leave the arena. You walk back through the dark corridors. The smell of lime and dampness returns. You emerge through the great archway. The street feels different now. The sky is a shade lighter, though it is not yet dawn. The black is turning to a deep, dark violet. The stars are less sharp. The night is beginning to thin out. You walk around the base of the amphitheater. The massive buttresses of stone lean against the sky. You find a fountain nearby, the Meta Sudans. It is a tall, conical fountain. The water trickles down the sides, splash, drip, trickle. The sound is refreshing after the heavy silence of the arena. The water is cold and clear. You wash your hands. The dust of the arena sand washes away, disappearing into the drain. You look towards the east. The horizon is still dark, but the air feels expectant. The deepest part of the night is over. The city is beginning to shift in its sleep. A door closes somewhere far away. A dog barks, and this time, another dog answers. You keep walking. You are heading back towards the river. The Tiber is calling. The sound of flowing water is the bridge between the night and the day. The city is still quiet, but it is a lighter quiet. The heaviness is lifting. But for now, the streets are still yours. The moon is still a pale ghost in the sky, and you are still awake in Rome. You leave the giant shadow of the Colosseum behind. The road leads you down, away from the hills and toward the low-lying valley of the river. The air here changes again. It loses the dry, dusty scent of the stone forum and the bakery. It becomes heavier, cooler, and carries a metallic, wet tang. You are approaching the Tiber. To the Romans, this river is a god, Father Tiber. It is the reason the city exists. During the day, it is a brown, churning highway of barges, timber rafts, and merchant ships. But at night, the river is a moving ribbon of liquid shadow. You reach the Emporium, the great riverside docks. The stone quays are wide and flat, built from massive blocks of travertine. They stretch along the bank for hundreds of yards. Walk to the edge of the stone. The water is just a few feet below you. Listen, the sound of the river at night is a deep, rushing murmur, swish, gurgle, rush. It is a constant, low-frequency sound that fills the ears and drowns out the silence of the streets. It is the sound of millions of gallons of water pushing toward the sea. It never stops. It never pauses. Look at the surface of the water. It is not smooth like the pool in the atrium. It is alive. The current creates swirls, small, dark whirlpools that appear for a second and then dissolve. The moon is reflected in the water, but it is not a perfect circle. It is shattered into 1,000 silver fragments that dance and shimmer on the ripples. It looks like liquid diamonds being poured through a sieve. Moored along the quay are several grain ships, navis honoraria. They are large wooden vessels with rounded hulls. In the dark, they look like sleeping whales. They move gently with the current, creak. You can hear the sound of the thick hemp ropes rubbing against the wooden bollards, creak, groan. It is a slow, rhythmic sound, the wood of the ship complaining against the pull of the river. The masts sway slightly against the stars, drawing slow arcs in the sky. The smell here is complex. It is the smell of river mud, of damp timber, and of the sea salt that has traveled up the river from the port of Ostia. Underneath it all is the faint, earthy scent of the grain stored deep in the holds of the ships. You walk along the quay, your sandals making a dull, wet sound on the damp stones. The mist is beginning to rise from the water. It is a thin, white veil that clings to the surface of the river. It moves in slow, ghostly curls, obscuring the far bank. Across the river, you can see the outline of the Transtiberim district, the Trastevere. The buildings there are just dark shapes through the fog. A single light flickers on the other side, perhaps a lantern at a ferry crossing. It looks miles away. You reach a bridge, the Pons Aemilius. It is a massive stone bridge with 3 great arches. You walk onto the bridge. The paving stones here are wet with the mist, making them glisten like fish scales. You walk to the center of the middle arch and lean over the stone parapet. The stone is cold and slightly mossy. You can feel the damp velvet of the moss under your palms. Look down at the base of the bridge piers. The water hits the stone with a powerful sucking sound. Slap, gurgle, hiss. The current is forced through the narrow arches, speeding up as it goes. You can feel the vibration of the water in the stone of the bridge. A very low tremor that travels up through your arms. The bridge is fighting the river. The river is pushing the bridge. They have been in this struggle for over 200 years. Neither is winning. They just exist together in the dark. A piece of driftwood floats by. It is a branch from a willow tree far upstream. It is caught in the silver light of the moon. It spins once. It disappears into the black shadow of the arch beneath your feet. You wait for it to emerge on the other side. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3. There it is. It pops out from the shadow, smaller now, moving faster, carried away into the darkness toward the sea. Watching things float away is hypnotic. It carries your thoughts with it. Your worries, your memories. They all just float downstream, dissolving into the river. The sky is a deep, velvety indigo now. The moon is low, hanging just above the horizon. The stars are beginning to fade one by one. The Great Bear is tilting toward the hills. The night is at its deepest point. This is the hour of the true quiet. You leave the bridge and walk back to the quay. You find a stack of unused timber, great beams of oak destined for a new warehouse. You sit on the wood. It is dry and smells of sap. You rest your back against the stack. From here you can see the insula Tiberina, the island in the middle of the river. It is shaped like a ship. The Romans have even faced the edges with marble to make it look like a stone prow cutting through the water. On the island sits the temple of Aesculapius, the god of healing. It is a place of peace. Even now, sick people are sleeping in the colonnades of the temple, hoping for a healing dream from the god. The island is silent. The water flows around it on both sides, a liquid embrace. It looks like a sanctuary, a place where the world can't reach you. A water rat scuttles along the edge of the quay. Its fur is sleek and wet. It stops, looks at you with tiny, glinting eyes, then slips into the water with a barely audible plop. The ripples it leaves are gone in an instant, swallowed by the river's own movement. The rhythm of the river is a lullaby. Flow, rush, flow, rush. It is the most boring sound in the world because it never changes. It has no beginning and no end. It is the white noise of eternity. You close your eyes. In your mind you follow the river, past the docks, past the salt works, past the marshes of the Campagna, all the way to the mouth of the river at Ostia where the Tiber meets the Mediterranean. You imagine the fresh water mixing with the salt water, the endless gray horizon of the sea, the sound of waves, but here you only have the river. The mist is getting thicker. It is beginning to drift up from the quay and into the streets. It swallows the base of the buildings. The world is becoming soft-edged. The hard stone of Rome is being blurred by the breath of the river. You feel like you are sitting in a cloud. Your breathing slows. The air is cool in your throat. The wood beneath you is solid. The water is constant. Everything is exactly as it should be. The empire is at rest. The river is at work. And you are the silent witness to the flow of time. You stay there wrapped in the mist for a long time. The dampness settles on your hair like tiny jewels. You don't brush them away. You are part of the landscape now. A statue made of wood and mist. The first hint of a breeze begins to stir. It is not a warm breeze. It is the first breath of the morning. It moves the mist, tearing it into long, thin ribbons. The river ripples in response. The night is not over yet. There is still one more hour of the deep dark, the hour before the light begins to change. You stand up slowly. Your clothes feel slightly damp from the river air. You stretch your arms. You begin to walk away from the river back toward the center of the city. Your footsteps are quiet. The sound of the river follows you for a block, then two, fading into a distant hum before finally vanishing. The silence of the streets returns, but it is a different silence now. It is a silence that knows the morning is coming. You leave the damp, rhythmic breathing of the river behind. The mist follows you for a short distance, clinging to the corners of the buildings, but as you move toward the Quirinal Hill, the air becomes drier again. You are approaching a monument of trade and order, the markets of Trajan. During the day, this is a chaotic symphony. It is a vertical city of commerce, 6 stories of shops called tabernae, where you can buy everything from Numidian spices to Gallic wool. The air is usually thick with the scent of salted fish, the sharp tang of vinegar, and the voices of 1,000 shoppers. But now, the market is a hollow hive of brick. You stand at the base of the great hemicycle, the massive, curved facade that hugs the hillside. In the moonlight, the red brick of the structure has turned a deep, dusty purple. The white limestone trim around the windows glows like pale ribbons. Walk slowly along the curved pavement. The space is immense. The curve of the building creates a natural amphitheater of silence. Every small sound you make is caught by the brick walls and held for a second before being released. Clink. A small stone rolls under your sandal. The sound travels up the tiers of the market, echoing faintly against the upper stories. Clink. The shops are all closed. Look at the tabernae. Each one is a simple rectangle cut into the brick wall. They are sealed with heavy wooden shutters made of thick planks of pine or oak. The shutters are gray and weathered. You can see the grain of the wood in the moonlight. The iron bolts that hold them closed are rusted, red-brown even in the dark. Imagine what lies behind those boards. In one stall there are amphorae of olive oil standing in rows like silent terracotta soldiers. The oil inside is thick and still. In another, there are sacks of dried lentils and chickpeas. In another, bolts of linen stacked high on wooden shelves. Everything is waiting for the first light. The goods are resting. The wealth of the empire is tucked away behind wood and iron. You walk toward the center of the hemicycle and find the stairs. They are narrow and made of hard, dark brick. You climb slowly. Step. Pause. Step. Pause. There is no rush. You are not a merchant late for his opening. You are a ghost in the machinery of trade. You reach the second level. This is a covered corridor, a via tecta. The ceiling is a series of beautiful groined vaults made of Roman concrete. The moonlight doesn't reach back here. It is pitch black, except for the pale rectangles of light where the corridor opens to the street. The air in the corridor is stagnant. It smells of dry dust and old brick. It is a heavy, mineral smell. Walk down the long hall. The darkness is absolute between the openings. You can feel the coolness of the brick walls radiating toward you. The arches above your head are perfect geometric curves. They have held the weight of the hill for a century, and they do not groan. They are silent and strong. You stop at one of the open windows and look out over the city. From here, you can see the rooftops of the Forum below. The city looks like a model made of clay and silver. The silence is so profound that you can hear the flickering of the torch held by a lone watchman 3 blocks away. Crack. Pop. The sound is tiny, like a pin dropping in a vast hall. You continue walking. You find a spot where a merchant has left a stone bench outside his stall. You sit. The brick wall behind you is still slightly warm from the day's sun. The massive thermal mass of the building stores the heat, releasing it slowly into the night. It feels good against your back. Look at the floor of the corridor. It is made of opus spicatum, bricks laid in a herringbone pattern. They look like the bones of a fish. The pattern is repetitive. Left, right, left, right. Trace the pattern with your eyes. It goes on into the darkness. It is a simple, rhythmic design that requires no thought. Everything in the market is designed for efficiency and order. The lines are straight. The curves are mathematical. In the dark, this order feels protective. The world is not chaotic. It is structured. It is built of bricks and mortar, and it is not going anywhere. A small breeze enters the corridor. It carries the scent of the hills, the smell of dry grass and pine. It moves a loose piece of straw across the floor. Scritch, scritch, scritch. The straw tumbles slowly, catching the light in each window as it passes, then disappearing into the dark. You watch it until it is gone. Your mind is as empty as the market stalls. You are not thinking of prices or profits. You are not thinking of the crowd. You are just a part of the architecture. In the upper levels of the market, there are offices for the procurators, the men who manage the grain dole. Those rooms are full of wax tablets and papyrus records. They are full of numbers and names. But tonight, the numbers are not being counted. The names are not being called. The administration of the world has paused. You stand up and walk to the end of the corridor where it opens onto a terrace. The view is even wider here. You can see the curved roof of the Pantheon in the distance, a dark dome against the stars. The city of Rome is a vast, sleeping creature. It is breathing slowly. The market is its ribcage, solid and unmoving. You lean on the railing. It is made of marble, worn smooth by the hands of people looking for a bargain or a friend. The stone is cool now. You listen to the silence of the market. It isn't a dead silence. It is an expectant silence. The building is ready for the morning. It knows that in a few hours the shutters will be taken down. The iron bolts will be slid back. The smell of spices will return. But that is a world away. Right now, there is only the brick. There is only the geometry of the arches. There is only the pale light of the moon on the herringbone floor. You breathe in. The air is still. You breathe out. You decide to stay here for a while, sitting in the heart of the empire's commerce, where nothing is being sold and everything is free. The peace of the empty market is a luxury. It is a moment of stillness in the center of the busiest city on earth. The stars are shifting. The constellation of the dolphin is rising. The night is progressing at its own unhurried pace. The bricks of Trajan's market don't care about time, and for now, neither do you. You leave the brick and mortar of the markets behind and begin to climb once more. You are heading away from the noise of the valleys, toward the heights of the Pincian Hill. This is a place of gardens, of hoarding. Here, the city of stone gives way to a city of green. As you reach the top of the slope, the air changes. It is no longer trapped by the narrow streets. It is moving. A soft, cool breeze flows over the crest of the hill, carrying with it the scent of the Roman countryside. It smells of damp grass, of pine needles, and of the sweet, floral ghost of jasmine that lingers even in the dark. You enter a private estate, one of the grand gardens of the aristocracy. The gates are made of bronze, but they are left open to catch the air. You walk onto a path made of crushed white marble. Crunch, crunch, crunch. The sound is soft and rhythmic. Each step is a small, satisfying texture beneath your sandals. The garden is a landscape of shadows. There are rows of cypress trees, tall and thin like dark fingers pointing at the stars. They are perfectly still, their dense needles absorbing the moonlight rather than reflecting it. Next to them are the stone pines, the Pinus pinea. They have thick, rugged trunks and flat, spreading tops that look like green umbrellas held high against the sky. Listen to the trees. The wind moves through the pine needles. It is not a whistle, it is a sigh. S-H-H-H-H-H-H-H. It is a continuous liquid sound. It sounds like a distant ocean, waves washing over a shore of silk. It is the most peaceful sound in the city. It covers everything else. It masks your footsteps. It masks the distant city. There is only the wind and the trees. You walk toward a long colonnade of boxwood hedges. They are trimmed into perfect square walls 5 feet high. Touch the leaves. They are small, oval, and thick. They feel waxy and cold under your fingertips. They are covered in a fine layer of dew. When you touch them, the water transfers to your skin, a refreshing, sharp coldness that wakes your senses for just a second before fading. In the center of the garden is a clearing. In the middle of the clearing stands a marble basin, a labrum. It is filled with water that reflects the stars, but this water is not still. A small lead pipe hidden among some ivy drips water into the center. Drip. The ripples move outward in slow, perfect circles. They hit the marble edge and vanish. You sit on the rim of the basin. The marble is cold, almost like ice, but the sound of the water is hypnotic. Look at the statues scattered through the trees. These are not the grand gods of the Forum. These are the garden gods, a small Pan playing his pipes, a nymph leaning her head on her hand, a Silenus resting against a wine skin. In the moonlight, the white marble of the statues looks like skin. They look like they are merely holding their breath, waiting for you to leave before they resume their dance. But they do not move. They are frozen in an eternal, silent garden party. Beyond the clearing, there is an orchard, rows of fruit trees, figs, pears, and pomegranates. The leaves of the fig trees are large and dark. They cast deep, irregular shadows on the grass. A piece of fruit has fallen to the ground. It lies there in the grass, a dark, sweet-smelling shape. A small beetle moves across it, its shell glinting for a moment in a stray beam of light. The grass is long and thick here. You walk off the marble path and onto the lawn. The grass is wet with the night's moisture. It feels soft and spongy. It makes no sound. You are walking on a carpet of velvet. You find a stone bench under a massive oak tree. The tree is hundreds of years old. Its branches are thick and twisted, reaching out like gnarled arms. Sit down. Lean your head back against the rough bark of the oak. The bark is hard and uneven, full of deep ridges. It feels like the scales of an ancient dragon. It is solid. It has weathered 1,000 storms and 10,000 nights like this one. It doesn't care about the city below. It only cares about the earth and the sky. From this height, you can see out over the edge of the hill. Below you, the city of Rome is a sea of shadows. The lights of the torches are fewer now. Most of the city is in the deepest part of its sleep. The silence up here is absolute. The wind in the pines is the only movement. S-H-H-H-H-H-H. S-H-H-H-H-H-H. You feel the weight of the night pressing down. It is a comfortable weight. Your eyes are heavy. The rhythm of the wind is like a hand stroking your forehead. Slow, gentle, endless. You look at a single star caught between two branches of the oak tree. It is bright and steady. It doesn't twinkle, it just glows. It has been there for billions of years. It will be there long after the city below is dust. In the presence of the star and the tree, your own life feels small and simple. There is nothing you need to do. There is nothing you need to think. You are just a living thing, breathing in the dark in a garden on a hill. The air gets colder. A mist is beginning to crawl up the side of the hill from the river. It moves through the trees like a ghost. It wraps around the trunks of the pines. It swallows the statues. The world is becoming even more private. You are alone in a white, silent world. You close your eyes. The smell of the wet earth is stronger now. It is a rich, dark smell. It is the smell of life resting. The roots of the trees are drinking. The seeds in the soil are waiting. The garden is busy with the work of being still. You stay on the bench. You don't want to move. The stone is part of you. The tree is part of you. The silence is part of you. The night is reaching its final phase. The stars are beginning to shift their positions for the last time before the dawn. But the dawn is still a long way off. There is still time to rest. There is still time to listen to the wind. Everything is calm. Everything is safe. The hill is watching over the city, and the trees are watching over the hill. You leave the whispering pines of the Pincian Hill behind. The descent is easy, your body feeling light as you move back down toward the level ground of the Campus Martius, the field of Mars. In the early years of the city, this was an open exercise ground, but now it is a place of grand monuments, theaters, and temples. The air here is different from the hill. It is flatter, more still. The mist from the river has settled over this low plain, turning the great marble structures into islands in a sea of gray. You walk toward the center of the district. The streets are wider here, designed for parades and crowds that are now absent. Your footsteps on the smooth paving stones are rhythmic and solitary. Step, tap, step, tap. Ahead of you, a massive shape begins to emerge from the fog. It is a building like no other in Rome. It is the Pantheon. You stop in the middle of the square, the piazza in front of the temple. The building is a giant silhouette. You see the massive porch first, a forest of 16 Corinthian columns, each a single piece of gray Egyptian granite. They are 40 feet tall. They look like the legs of a stone god. Walk toward the porch. As you step under the roof of the portico, the world changes. The sounds of the night are suddenly muffled. The sky is cut off by the massive pediment above you. The air here is trapped. It is cold, smelling of ancient stone and the faint, dry scent of incense from the previous day's offerings. Touch one of the granite columns. It is not like the travertine of the Colosseum or the brick of the markets. It is smooth. It is incredibly hard. It feels frozen. This stone traveled over 1,000 miles from the deserts of Africa to stand here in the Roman night. It is silent, heavy, and eternal. Before you are the great bronze doors. They are massive, 20 feet tall and plated in thick, dark metal. They are closed, but you don't need to go inside to feel the spirit of the place. Imagine the space behind those doors, a perfect sphere of air, a room so vast it has its own weather. And at the very top of the dome, the oculus, the eye, a circular hole 30 feet wide, open to the sky. Tonight, the moon is passing directly over the Pantheon. Look up at the roof from the outside. You can see the silver light pouring into the hole at the top. Inside, that light would be a solid pillar of moonbeams, a circular spotlight of white light slowly moving across the marble floor. It would illuminate the statues of the gods in their niches, Mars, Venus, Julius Caesar, one by one as the earth turns. The gods are bathed in light, then left in shadow. A silent, celestial clock. There is no sound here. The thick walls, 20 feet of concrete and brick, swallow everything. The city could be burning and the center of the Pantheon would still be silent. It is a vacuum of peace. You walk around the side of the building, following the curve of the massive drum. The brickwork is a masterpiece of arches and layers, designed to distribute the incredible weight of the dome. In the moonlight, you can see the stamps on the bricks, the names of the makers from 100 years ago. They are long dead. Their work is as strong as the day it was laid. Next to the Pantheon are the baths of Agrippa. They are silent now, the fires in the furnaces reduced to cold ash. The water in the great outdoor pool is as still as a sheet of lead. A row of statues of athletes stands along the edge. In the dark, their poses look like they are frozen mid-movement, waiting for a signal that will never come. You find a small stone fountain near the edge of the square. It is a simple basin fed by a bronze lion's head. The water flows in a thin, steady stream. Tinkle, splash, tinkle. It is a light, delicate sound. You sit on the edge of the fountain. The mist is so thick now that you can no longer see the top of the Pantheon's dome. The building looks like it has no roof, stretching infinitely into the clouds. The Campus Martius feels like a dream world. Everything is white marble and gray mist. You walk past the Theater of Pompey. The great stone arches of the theater are empty. The stage where actors spoke is silent. The thousands of wooden seats are cold. A scrap of papyrus, perhaps a program from the day's play, blows across the empty plaza. Skip, flutter, skip. It moves like a tiny, frightened bird before getting caught in a puddle and falling still. You are moving slower now. The night is at its most heavy. The air is damp and cool. It settles on your skin like a soft, invisible weight. You look at the obelisks that stand in the distance. Tall, thin needles of stone brought from Egypt. They point at the stars like sun clocks waiting for a sun that is still far away. Their shadows are long and blurred in the mist. Everything is monumental. Everything is grand, but everything is also incredibly boring. There is no drama here. There is no conflict, just the stone, the mist, the water. You breathe in the dampness. It smells of the river and the rain. Your heart beats in a slow, steady rhythm. Lub-dub, lub-dub. It matches the dripping of the fountain. You are the only thing moving in the field of Mars. You pass the altar of peace, the Ara passes. It is enclosed in a beautiful marble screen carved with images of processions and spinning vines. The vines are frozen in stone. The people in the procession are frozen in their togas. The peace of the altar is the peace of the night, unmoving, silent, perfect. You decide to rest here for a moment, leaning against a cool marble pillar. The mist wraps around you. You feel as if you are disappearing into the history of the city. You are not a person anymore. You are just a pair of eyes and a pair of ears, experiencing the stillness. The moon is beginning to set. The light is fading from the dome of the Pantheon. The shadows are deepening. The world is preparing for its final, deepest sleep before the light returns. Close your eyes. Listen to the distant, muffled sound of the city. It is just a hum, a vibration of stone. You are safe in the field of Mars. The monuments are guarding you. The mist is hiding you. The night is holding you. You leave the wide, misty plazas of the campus Martius behind. The air becomes tighter as the streets begin to narrow. You are entering the Subura, the most crowded, vibrant, and dense residential district in Rome. During the day, this is a place of chaos. It is a labyrinth of shouting, the smell of frying oil, and the constant press of thousands of bodies. But at night, the Subura is a silent hive. Look up. The buildings here, the insulae, rise 5 or 6 stories high. They lean toward each other across the narrow alleys, almost touching at the top. They blot out most of the sky, leaving only a thin ribbon of stars visible between the terracotta roof tiles. The walls are made of rough brick and timber. They are patched and weathered. In the moonlight, you can see the cracks in the plaster, the uneven lines of the windows, and the wooden balconies that hang precariously over the street. The silence here is different. It is not the vast, echoing silence of the Pantheon. It is a thick, crowded silence. It is the silence of thousands of people sleeping just a few feet away from you, separated only by thin walls of brick and wood. Walk slowly down the narrow alley. The ground is uneven. The paving stones are smaller here, worn smooth and slippery by centuries of use. There are no lights. The only illumination comes from the pale moonbeams that manage to filter down to the street level, creating puddles of silver in the darkness. Listen, you can hear the city breathing. From an open window on the second floor, there is a rhythmic, heavy sound. Snore, whistle, pause, snore, whistle, pause. From another window, the soft, muffled cry of a baby, quickly hushed by a mother's low murmur. Then the silence returns, heavier than before. It is the sound of humanity at rest. The sound of thousands of hearts beating in unison, tucked away in their small, dark rooms. You pass a laundry, a Phylonica. Outside, the large clay vats are lined up against the wall. They are empty now, but the air still holds the sharp chemical smell of ammonia and lye. It is a clean, harsh scent that cuts through the mustiness of the alley. A damp tunic hangs from a line stretched across the street. It is motionless. It looks like a flat, white ghost in the moonlight. A single drop of water falls from the hem of the tunic. Drip. It hits the stone with a tiny, sharp sound. Drip. The shops on the ground floor are sealed tight. These are the small businesses of the Subura, the cobblers, the weavers, the tavern keepers. Their wooden shutters are heavy and scarred. Behind one shutter, you can hear a mouse scratching at a grain sack. Scritch, scratch, scritch. It is a tiny, industrious sound in the vast quiet. You find a set of stairs leading up the side of an insula. The stairs are made of wood, old and creaky. You climb just a few steps, creak. The sound feels loud in the narrow alley. You stop. You look into the dark interior of a room through a gap in the shutter. It is a small room. There is a simple bed made of a wooden frame and rope webbing. A wool blanket is draped over a sleeping form. On a small table sits a clay cup and a half-eaten piece of bread. It is a simple life, a quiet life. In the dark, the differences between the rich and the poor disappear. Everyone is just a sleeper, waiting for the sun. The air in the Subura is still. It smells of wood smoke that has settled into the valley, mixed with the earthy scent of damp brick and the faint, sweet smell of wine from a nearby tavern's empty jars. It is the smell of the city's breath. You continue down the alley. You pass a small shrine to the Lares, the spirits of the crossroads. It is a small niche in the wall, decorated with a faded painting of two young men dancing. A small clay lamp sits on the ledge. The oil is gone and the wick is cold. A withered garland of flowers hangs from a hook. The gods of the Subura are humble, but they are always there, watching over the sleeping families. The walls of the buildings feel close. You can put out your hands and touch the brick on both sides of the street. The stone is cool and slightly damp. It feels solid. It feels like the city is holding you in its arms. A cat sits on a window ledge 3 stories up. It is a black silhouette against the gray plaster. It watches you with green, glowing eyes. It doesn't move. It doesn't meow. It is the king of the night, observing the silent world from its high throne. You find a small courtyard tucked away behind a row of shops. In the center is a well. The wooden bucket sits on the stone rim, its rope coiled neatly. You look down into the well. It is a deep, black circle. Way down at the bottom, you can see a tiny reflection of a single star. The water is deep and cold. It is the secret life of the city, hidden beneath the stones. Sit on the edge of the well. The stone is rough and cold. The silence here is even deeper. The high walls of the surrounding buildings block out all the wind. There is no sound at all. It is as if the world has stopped. You feel the weight of the night. Your eyelids are very heavy. The rhythm of the sleeping city is hypnotic. Breathe in, breathe out. You are part of the hive now, a single cell in the vast, sleeping organism of Rome. The darkness is soft. It is like a layer of velvet. It covers the cracks in the walls. It covers the poverty and the wealth. It makes everything equal. Everything is just a shape. Everything is just a shadow. You look up at the ribbon of stars again. The Great Bear has moved further toward the horizon. The night is aging. The deepest hours are passing, but the light is still a long way off. You stand up from the well. Your movements are slow and deliberate. You don't want to wake the city. You walk back out into the alley. The Subura is a place of stories, but tonight all the stories are paused. The baker is not baking. The weaver is not weaving. The thief is not stealing. They are all dreaming. You walk toward the end of the alley, where it opens into a slightly wider street. The air feels a little fresher here. The mist is beginning to thin. You are a silent traveler in a world of dreams. The city of Rome is your host, and it is a quiet, generous host. It asks nothing of you. It only asks that you listen to its silence. Everything is calm. Everything is heavy. Everything is at rest. You leave the crowded, sleeping hive of the Subura. You walk south, past the great Circus Maximus, which lies like a dark, empty valley between the hills. You approach the Servian wall and pass through the Porta Capena. The heavy gates stand open, guarded by drowsy soldiers who do not challenge a shadow. You are now standing at the beginning of the Via Appia, the Appian Way, the Queen of Roads. The transition is immediate. The air is no longer trapped by walls. It is open. It blows across the flat plains of the Campagna, fresh and cool, smelling of dry grass, wild fennel, and the dust of the earth. Look at the road stretching out before you. It is a straight line of silver and black, shooting like an arrow into the darkness. The paving stones here are massive, polygonal blocks of volcanic basalt, smoothed by centuries of travelers. They fit together perfectly, a mosaic of engineering that spans the horizon. In the moonlight, the stones glint. They look like the scales of a giant snake sleeping in the grass. You begin to walk, clack, clack, clack. Your footsteps sound louder here. There are no buildings to absorb the sound. It travels out into the open fields, fading slowly into the night. The road is flanked on both sides by tall, dark shapes. These are the tombs. In Rome, the dead are not buried within the city walls. They line the roads, watching the travelers, but there is nothing frightening here. These are not places of horror. They are places of memory. They are monuments to lives lived long ago. To your left, a tall cypress tree stands guard beside a marble sepulchre. The tree is a pillar of black velvet. It does not move. The tomb is a small house made of white stone. It has a door, but it is a false door carved into the block. It will never open. Above the door is an inscription. You cannot read the name in the dark, but you know it is there. A name, a date, a prayer, dis manibus, to the spirits of the departed. You walk past a statue of a man in a toga. He stands on a high pedestal. His arm is raised in a gesture of greeting. He is welcoming you to the road. His marble eyes stare blindly at the moon. He has stood there through rain, sun, wind, and war. He is patient. He has all the time in the world. A vine has grown up the side of the pedestal. It wraps around his ankle. Nature is slowly reclaiming the stone leaf by leaf. The silence of the Appian Way is vast. It is the silence of the countryside. You can hear the wind moving through the tall grass in the fields beyond the tombs. Swish, swish, swish. It is a dry, rhythmic sound. A cricket chirps, then stops. An owl calls from a distant grove of umbrella pines. Who? The sound is lonely but peaceful. You find a place to sit on the low stone wall that runs along the edge of the road. The stone is cool and rough. You look down the long, straight avenue. It seems to go on forever. To Capua, to Brundisium, to the sea. It connects the world, but tonight it connects nothing but the silence. There are no carts, no legions marching, no messengers galloping. The road is resting. It has borne the weight of the empire all day. Now it lies cool and empty under the stars. Focus on the shadows cast by the tombs. The moon is lower now, so the shadows are long. They stretch across the road like dark bars. You walk through them. Light, dark, light, dark. It is a hypnotic rhythm. The tombs vary in shape. Some are small altars, some are tall towers, some are round tumuli covered in earth and grass. They are a city of the silent, but they feel peaceful. The people inside have finished their work. They have finished their worries. They are part of the Roman peace now. A gentle breeze picks up. It carries the scent of the pine trees. It is a sharp, clean smell. It clears your head. It relaxes your shoulders. You take a deep breath. The air feels healthy. It is the air of the open plains. You stop at a large, circular tomb. The masonry is massive, huge blocks of travertine. On the top, grass is growing. It looks like a small hill made by human hands. You lean your hand against the stone. It is cold. It feels ancient. You feel a sense of connection to the people who built this. They stood here on this same road under this same moon. They heard the same wind in the grass. Time collapses in the dark. There is only the present moment. Far in the distance, you see the faint outline of the Alban Hills. They are just a darker shade of black against the starry sky. They look soft and sleepy. The world is a landscape of sleeping shapes. You start walking again. Your pace is slow. There is no destination. The walk is the destination. The rhythm of your feet on the hard stones is the only clock you need. Left, right, left, right. The road guides you. You don't need to choose a path. The Via Appia is a straight line through the chaos of the world. You pass a small bench made of stone placed there for weary travelers. It is empty. It waits for the morning. A lizard is sleeping in a crack in the stone. You can just see its tail curled up tight. It is safe there. The The stone holds the heat of the yesterday sun deep inside, keeping the small creature warm. The sky is beginning to change very subtly. It is not dawn yet, but the darkness has a different quality. It is softer. The stars are beginning to lose their sharp edges. The seven sisters have dipped below the horizon. The night is moving towards its end, but very slowly. There is no rush. The dawn will come when it comes. You look at the horizon. The vastness of the space makes you feel small and light. Your thoughts float away into the dark fields. There is nothing to hold onto here. Just the road. Just the walking. You pause to look at a relief carving on a tomb. It shows a family, a husband, a wife, and a child. They are holding hands. The carving is worn by the rain. The faces are smooth and indistinct, but the gesture remains, holding hands in the dark. It is a quiet, human moment frozen in stone. It feels comforting. You are not alone on the road. You are surrounded by the memories of love and family. The wind rustles a cypress tree next to you. The branches sway gently. It looks like the tree is nodding in its sleep. The movement is slow and heavy. Everything is heavy. Gravity feels stronger here. It pulls your eyelids down. It pulls your shoulders down. It anchors you to the earth. You sit down on the edge of the road again. You stretch your legs out on the basalt stones. The ground is hard, but it feels supportive. You look up at the sky one last time. The Milky Way is fading. The deep, endless black is turning into a deep, endless gray-blue. It is the color of sleep. You close your eyes in the scene. You listen to the silence of the Epean Way. It is a silence that has lasted for centuries. It absorbs everything. It absorbs the noise of the day. It absorbs the noise of your mind. It leaves only peace. You are simply a traveler resting by the side of the road. The journey is long, but there is no hurry. The road will still be there tomorrow. The tombs will still be there. The wind will still be blowing. For now, you just exist, breathing in the cool air, listening to the quiet, waiting for nothing. You stand up from the stone wall along the Epean Way. The deep relaxation of the night is still heavy in your limbs, but the air has changed. The utter stillness of the middle night is vibrating just slightly with the promise of change. You turn back toward the city. The walk back is slow. You are moving against the flow of the coming day, but with the flow of the waking earth. The sky above you is no longer a void of black ink. It has softened. It is now the color of charcoal, a deep, matte gray that seems to absorb the stars one by one. To your right, running parallel to the road, is the great aqueduct, the Aqua Marcia. In the darkness, it looked like a solid wall. Now against the lightning sky, you can see the arches. They march across the landscape, a procession of stone legs. You stop beneath one of the arches. Put your hand on the pillar. It is rough, massive stone. Listen. Above your head, 30 feet up in the stone channel, a river is flowing. Rush. It is a steady, powerful sound deeper than the Tiber. It is the sound of Rome's lifeblood arriving from the distant mountains. Millions of gallons of water, cold and pure, rushing in the dark to fill the fountains, the baths, and the basins you visited earlier. The sound is constant. It is the pulse of the city, beating even while the body sleeps. You walk through the Porta Capena. The gates are still open, the guards still leaning on their spears. They look tired. They are shifting their weight, waiting for the relief watch. They do not look at you. You are just a shadow in the gray. You decide to climb a small rise on the Caelian hill to watch the city emerge. You find a spot on a terrace overlooking the valley of the Colosseum and the Forum. The view is monochromatic. There are no colors yet. No reds of the tiles, no whites of the marble. Everything is a shade of gray. Dark gray for the cypress trees. Medium gray for the brick walls. Pale, ghostly gray for the marble columns. The mist that filled the lower valleys is beginning to shift. It is not dissipating, but it is lifting, thinning out. It looks like a thin sheet of silk being pulled slowly off the furniture of the city. Watch the rooftops, thousands of tiles. As the light increases imperceptibly moment by moment, the definition returns to the world. 10 minutes ago, the roofs were a single mass. Now you can see individual ridges. You can see a chimney pot here, a pigeon sitting on a gable there. The world is resolving itself, coming into focus like a lens being slowly twisted. The air is at its coldest point. This is the chill of the dawn. It bites at your nose and fingers. It is a clean, crisp cold. You wrap your imaginary cloak tighter. The wool feels warm and scratchy against your neck. The contrast between the cold air and your warm skin is comforting. It makes you feel alive, a solitary witness to the turning of the earth. A bird begins to sing. It is not the owl anymore. It is a blackbird, chirp, trill. It is a tentative sound testing the air, then silence. Then from a garden across the valley another bird answers, trill, tweet. The conversation of the morning has begun. It is slow and polite. There is no rush to wake up the sun. You look toward the east. The horizon is blocked by the Esquiline Hill, but above the roofline the sky is turning a pale, bruised purple. It is the diliculum, the little light, the dawn before the sunrise. There is no sun yet, just the suggestion that light exists somewhere in the universe. Smoke begins to rise from more chimneys now. Thin, gray columns standing straight up in the still air. The slaves are waking up. They are blowing on the embers in the kitchen hearths. They are boiling water. They are warming the morning porridge. The smell of woodsmoke intensifies. It drifts up the hill to you. It is the smell of civilization waking up. It is a cozy smell. It reminds you of safety, of warmth, of the routine that keeps the empire running. You look down at the Colosseum again. In the gray light, it looks immense. The arches are black holes. The stone is the color of old bone. It looks weary. It has stood all night and now it must prepare to stand all day. A cart rattles somewhere in the distance. Clatter, clatter. The sound is distinct. Iron wheels on stone. It is a farmer bringing vegetables in from the countryside, racing to get through the gates before the daylight ban on wagons begins. The sound grows louder, then fades as the cart turns a corner. The silence rushes back in to fill the space it left. You look at your own hands. In the dark, they were just shapes. Now you can see the lines on your palms. You can see the texture of your skin. You are becoming real again. The night erased you, but the dawn is drawing you back in. A rooster crows nearby. Cock-a-doodle-doo. It is loud, arrogant. It breaks the spell of the silence for a moment, but the silence is heavy. It absorbs the sound and settles back down. The rooster is early. The sun is not up. Go back to sleep, bird. You lean against a stone pine. The bark is rough. You look at the needles. They are dark green, almost black. A drop of dew hangs from the tip of one needle. It swells. It catches the faint gray light. It falls, plip. It hits the dry pine needles on the ground. A tiny impact. The earth drinks it. The sky is lightening faster now. The purple is turning to a pale, washed-out blue. The stars are gone. Even the morning star, Venus, has melted into the light. The vast dome of the heavens feels higher, further away. The intimacy of the dark is leaving. The openness of the day is arriving. You feel a sense of calm accomplishment. You have made it through the night. You have kept watch. You have seen the things that no one sees, the sleeping ants, the rising doe, the empty throne of the Senate. The city is still quiet, but it is a different kind of quiet. It is the quiet of holding one's breath, the tension of potential energy. Soon the shutters will open. Soon the doors will unbar. Soon the water will be splashed on faces. But for now, there is still this gray, suspended moment. You watch a cat walking along a garden wall below you. It stretches, arching its back, extending its front claws. It yawns, a pink flash of tongue in the gray world. It sits down and watches the east. It is waiting for the warmth. You are waiting with it. The light touches the top of the Temple of Jupiter on the Capitoline Hill. The gold roof tiles catch the very first faint ray. They do not glow yet, they just shine dully. A signal. The highest point has been touched. The light will flow down the hill like honey, covering the Forum, then the Subura, then the river. It is a slow flood of day. You close your eyes one last time in the semi-darkness. You imprint this moment on your mind. The cool air, the smell of smoke, the gray light, the silence of the gray hour. It is boring, it is ordinary, it is the most reliable thing in the world. The night ends. The day begins. The empire continues. You open your eyes. The world is here. It is time to descend from the hill, to find a quiet corner to rest. You walk down from the Calian Hill, moving into the residential streets as the gray light strengthens. The city is no longer monochrome. Hints of color are returning. The brick is rusty red again. The leaves are dull green. You stop outside a large domus, a private townhouse. You are invisible, a spirit of the morning. You slip through the front door, which is being unbolted by a sleepy doorkeeper. Clack, slide. The heavy iron bolt is pulled back. The door creaks open just enough to let the morning air in. You step into the atrium again. Last night it was a cave of shadows. Now it is filled with a pale, milky light filtering down from the compluvium in the roof. The pool of water, the impluvium, is gray and still. A single dead leaf floats on the surface, curled like a small boat. The house is waking up, but not the masters. They are still asleep in the inner rooms, buried under wool blankets. It is the slaves who own this hour. In the corner, a young woman is kneeling by a small brazier. She is holding a piece of flint and steel. Watch her hands, they are steady. Click, a spark flies, it dies in the cold air. Click, another spark. This one lands on the tinder, dried fungus and straw. A tiny curl of smoke rises, it is white and thin. She leans in and blows gently. Woo, the glow brightens. It turns orange. She adds a small twig, then another. The fire catches. A small, cheerful flame dances in the brazier. The light flickers on her face. She looks tired but peaceful. The fire is her companion. She sets a small tripod over the fire and places a bronze pot of water on top. The heating of the water has begun. It will take time. Further back in the house, in the kitchen, an older man is preparing the bread. He is slicing a loaf that was baked yesterday. Saw, saw. Saw. The knife cuts through the crust with a dry, crunching sound. He arranges the slices on a silver tray. He places a small bowl of honey next to them. He moves with practiced silence. He knows exactly which floorboards creak and he avoids them. He is a master of the quiet morning. Out in the peristyle garden, a gardener is at work. He is sweeping the stone path with a broom made of birch twigs. Swish, swish, swish. The sound is rhythmic and soft. It sounds like the wind, but more regular. He sweeps the dust and the fallen leaves into a small pile. He moves slowly. The air is still cool and he wraps his tunic tighter around himself. The birds in the garden are awake now. A dove is cooing on the roof tiles. Coo, coo-roo. It is a soft, bubbling sound. It sounds like contentment. You walk to the lararium, the household shrine in the atrium. The lamp that was burning last night has gone out. The oil is finished. The woman with the fire comes over. She carries a small ladle of fresh olive oil. She pours it into the lamp. The liquid glugs softly. Glug, glug. She takes a burning twig from the brazier and touches it to the wick. The flame jumps to life. The household gods are awake again. The Lares dance in the fresh light. She whispers a quick prayer. Just a moving of lips, and then returns to her work. The water in the bronze pot begins to simmer. Sizzle, hiss. Tiny bubbles form on the bottom of the pot. Steam rises, mixing with the smoke of the charcoal. The smell is comforting. It is the smell of a home that is alive. You walk toward the bedrooms, the cubicula. The doors are closed. You stand outside one. You can hear the heavy breathing of the master of the house. He turns over in his sleep. The wooden bed frame groans, creak. Then silence returns. He is dreaming of the Senate or his farm in the country. He does not know that the day has already started without him. He does not know that the fire is lit, the bread is cut, and the path is swept. He is sustained by this invisible web of service. The light in the atrium changes. The sun has crested the horizon outside. A beam of direct sunlight hits the roof tiles. It reflects down into the hall. The gray turns to gold. The water in the pool catches the light. It sparkles. The dead leaf casts a shadow on the bottom of the pool. The gardener stops sweeping. He leans on his broom. He looks up at the sky. He takes a deep breath of the morning air. For a moment, he does nothing. He just stands there, soaking in the first warmth of the sun. It is a stolen moment of peace. A dog trots into the atrium. It is the family pet, a small white dog. It stretches its front legs, bowing down, tail wagging slowly. It walks over to the brazier, seeking the warmth. It curls up on the floor tiles, just close enough to feel the heat. It sighs. A long, doggy exhale through its nose. HMPH. It closes its eyes. It is not ready to be fully awake yet. The sound of the city outside is growing. It is no longer just a hum. You can hear distinct voices now. A vendor shouting water, fresh water, a cart rumbling by. A neighbor calling out a greeting. The shell of silence is cracking. The day is breaking in. But inside the house, the quiet holds for a little longer. It is a sanctuary of the morning, the space between the dream and the duty. You sit on a cedar chest against the wall. You watch the steam rise from the pot. It spirals up, twisting and turning in the shaft of sunlight. Dust motes dance in the beam. Millions of them, a galaxy of dust in a Roman hallway. You feel calm, you feel rested. You have seen the night through to its end. The cycle is complete. The woman lifts the pot from the fire. She pours the hot water into a basin. The sound of the pouring water is loud in the quiet room. Splash. She picks up a towel. She walks toward the master's door. She knocks. Tap, 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 softly. Dominus, she whispers. It is morning. There is a pause, then a groan from inside. The sound of feet hitting the floor. The day has officially begun. You stand up, your watch is over, the house is awake, the fire is burning, the sun is up. You walk toward the door. The doorkeeper is now sitting on his stool, eating a piece of bread. He nods to the empty air as you pass. You step out into the street. The sunlight hits your face. It is bright. It is warm. The boring, beautiful, ordinary day of Rome stretches out before you. You step away from the awakening house and back onto the street. The sun is now fully above the rooftops, casting long, sharp shadows across the paving stones. The light is golden and clear, promising a warm day. The chill of the dawn is evaporating, replaced by a gentle, rising heat. You walk down the street to a small, open-fronted shop tucked between a bakery and a sandal maker. It is a tenstrina, a barber shop. It is still early, so there is no line. There is only one customer, a man of middle age, sitting on a low wooden stool in the center of the shop. He is wrapped in a large, white linen cloth that covers his tunic. He is leaning his head back, his eyes closed, surrendering to the slow ritual of the morning groom. Step inside the shop. The air here is humid and smells of olive oil, lavender, and clean, hot water. It is a soft, soapy smell that immediately makes your muscles relax. The barber, the tonsor, is at work. He is a man of few movements. He does not rush. He knows that a good shave requires patience. He He stands next to a small basin of water on a tripod. Steam rises from the basin, twisting slowly in the morning air. Watch the barber's hands. He dips a sponge into the hot water, sploosh. He squeezes it out gently, drip, drip. He places the warm sponge onto the customer's face. The man on the stool lets out a long, slow breath. The heat penetrates his skin, softening the beard, relaxing the jaw. Steam rises from the sponge, fogging the air around them for a moment. The barber holds it there. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Time slows down to the cooling rate of the water. He removes the sponge. Now he reaches for the oil flask. He pours a small amount of oil onto his fingers. It is thick green gold oil. He rubs it into the customer's chin and cheeks. Rub, rub, rub. The motion is circular and hypnotic. The sound is wet and soft, skin against skin, lubricated by the oil. The customer's head lolls slightly to the side, completely relaxed. He is trusting the barber with his face. He is halfway asleep. The barber picks up his razor, the novicula. It is a curved blade of iron polished to a mirror finish. He picks up a leather strop hanging from the wall. He begins to sharpen the blade. SHHH, clack, SHHH, clack, SHHH, clack. The rhythm is perfect, up and down, steel against leather. It is a monotonous, soothing sound. It signals preparation. It signals care. He tests the edge with his thumb. It is ready. He steps back to the customer. He places a hand on the man's forehead to steady him. He brings the blade to the cheek, scrape. It is a distinctive sound, the sound of metal gliding over stubble. It is not a harsh sound, it is the sound of cleaning, of smoothing, scrape. He wipes the blade on a cloth, scrape. He wipes again. The barber works in silence. He does not chatter. He is focused on the topography of the face, the jawline, the upper lip, the chin. He stretches the skin with his thumb to make a flat surface. The customer does not move a muscle. He is a statue draped in white linen. A fly buzzes into the shop. Bzzzzzzz. It circles the basin of water. It lands on the rim. It rubs its front legs together. It flies off again, out into the sunny street. The buzzing fades away, leaving the silence of the shop even deeper than before. You sit on a bench against the wall, waiting for nothing. The shop is simple. The walls are plastered white. There is a shelf with small glass bottles of perfume and jars of pomade. The sunlight hits the glass bottles. They glow with amber, green, and clear light. They look like jewels. Dust motes float in the shafts of light. They move slower here, weighed down by the humidity of the steam. The barber dips the sponge again, sploosh. He wipes the customer's face clean of the remaining oil and hair. The face is smooth now, pink from the heat. He takes a small jar of balm. He applies it to the skin. It smells of beeswax and rose, a sweet, calming scent. He picks up a pair of shears. Snip. He trims a stray hair from the man's eyebrow. Snip. He trims a hair from the ear. The sound of the shears is sharp, a tiny punctuation mark in the quiet sentence of the morning. The barber takes a clean, dry towel. He fans the customer's face gently to cool the skin. Whoosh, whoosh, the air moves. The linen flaps softly. The customer opens his eyes slowly. He blinks. He looks refreshed but also reluctant to leave the chair. The spell of the warm water and the rhythmic scraping is broken, but the feeling remains. He stands up. He drops a coin into the barber's hand. Clink. He nods. He walks out into the street, touching his smooth chin with satisfaction. The barber turns back to his basin. He picks up the bowl of water. He walks to the door and throws the water into the gutter. Splash. The water runs away down the street, carrying the stubble with it. He wipes the basin dry. He places it back on the tripod. He picks up the strop again. SHHH, clack, SHHH, clack. He is preparing for the next customer, whoever that may be. But for now, the shop is empty again. You stay on the bench. The smell of the rose balm lingers in the air. The sun has moved slightly on the floor. The shadow of the doorframe has crept an inch to the right. The morning is stretching out. It is a slow, lazy morning. There is no urgency in Rome today. You look at the floor. It is swept clean, but in the corner there is a small pile of cut hair from yesterday. Dark hair, gray hair, red hair. The remnants of the city's population. It is just dust now. The barber sweeps it up with a small brush. Swish, swish. He deposits it in a bin. He leans against the wall, crossing his arms. He looks out at the street. He watches a cart full of cabbages roll by. The wheels rumble. The driver looks bored. The barber looks bored. You are bored. It is a wonderful, heavy, warm boredom. The heat of the day is beginning to build. You can feel it radiating from the street outside. But in here, in the shade of the shop, it remains cool. A sanctuary of shade. You close your eyes. You listen to the distant sounds of the city. They are muffled by the walls of the shop. They sound like a river flowing far away. A continuous, gentle drone. The barber sighs. He shifts his weight to the other foot. The leather of his sandal creaks, creak. This is the rhythm of the tenstrina. Wait, work, wait, work, clean, sharpen, clean, sharpen. It is a cycle that never changes. It is reliable. It is peaceful. You breathe in the soap scent one last time. It feels like it is coating the inside of your lungs with cleanliness. You feel lighter. You feel cleaner just by watching. You stand up slowly. You nod to the barber. He nods back, a slow dip of the head. You step out into the sunlight. The warmth hits your face, mimicking the warm towel. You continue your walk. The street is busier now, but not frantic. People are moving at a walking pace. The day has settled into its groove. The sun is climbing higher, dragging the city along with it. You leave the warm, soapy air of the barber shop and continue down the street. The sun is higher now, approaching its zenith. The heat is no longer gentle. It is becoming a presence, a weight that presses down on the city. The shadows are shrinking, hiding under awnings and archways. You turn off the main street and into a small porticus, a covered walkway. Tucked away here in a shaded alcove open to the air is a ludus literarius, a primary school. There are no walls here, just columns holding up a roof to provide shade. A simple curtain hangs at the back, separating the school from the noise of the street beyond. The air inside is hot but still. There are 8 boys, perhaps 7 or 8 years old, sitting on low wooden stools. They are wearing simple tunics. They are not running, shouting, or playing. They are silent. The teacher, the ludi magister, sits on a higher chair at the front. He is an older man with a thinning beard. He holds a long cane which rests across his knees. He is not using it. He is just holding it. His eyes are half closed. The heat is making him sleepy. Look at the boys. They are hunched over their work. Each boy holds a tabula, a wax tablet in a wooden frame and a metal stylus. They are learning to write. They are copying a line of poetry that the master has written on a large board at the front. VIRUMMIHICAMENA INSCVRSUTUM. Tell me, O muse of the man of many wiles. The words of Homer, translated into Latin, being copied by small, sweaty hands. Listen to the sound of the schoolroom. It is not the sound of voices. It is the sound of scratching. Scritch, scritch, scritch. The sharp end of the stylus carving lines into the black wax. It is a dry, friction-filled sound. It is the sound of concentration. Watch one of the boys. He is sticking his tongue out slightly in concentration. He grips the stylus tightly. His knuckles are white. He writes the letter V, scratch, a downward stroke, scratch, an upward stroke. He looks up at the board to check the next letter. He looks down at his tablet. He writes the letter I, scratch, just a single line. Another boy has made a mistake. He flips his stylus over to use the flat end, the eraser. He rubs the wax. Rub, rub, rub. The heat of the day has made the wax soft and pliable. It smooths out easily, erasing the mistake. The black surface becomes blank again, ready for a second try. He blows on the tablet to clear away the tiny curls of wax. PFFF. He starts again. Scritch. The air smells of warm wax and wood. It is a dusty, scholarly smell. A wasp flies into the shaded area. It drones lazily around the head of one of the boys. Zzzzzzz. The boy does not swat it, he just freezes. He waits. The wasp lands on the corner of his tablet. It inspects the wood. It flies off. The boy breathes out. He continues writing. Scritch. The master shifts in his chair. Creak. He lifts the cane a few inches, then lets it rest again. He is watching, but only just. The heat is doing the work of discipline today. It is too hot to misbehave. It is too hot to do anything but sit still and write. There is a clay water jar in the corner with a ladle. One boy raises his hand. Silently, the master nods. The boy gets up slowly. His stool scrapes on the stone floor. Scrap. He walks to the jar. He dips the ladle in. Splash. He drinks. The water flows down his throat. He wipes his mouth with the back of his hand. He walks back to his seat. Scrap. He sits down. He picks up his stylus. Scritch. The routine is unbreakable. Letter after letter. Line after line. It is boring work. It is repetitive. But it is the foundation of the empire. These small hands will one day write laws, command armies, or manage estates. Today, they are just managing wax. You lean against one of the columns. The stone is warm to the touch now. You watch the dust motes floating in the air, trapped in the space between the shade and the sunlight. They move slowly, carried by the convection currents of the heat. The sound of the scratching becomes rhythmic. It merges into a single, continuous sound. Scritch, scratch, scritch, scratch. It is like the sound of cicadas in the summer trees, a background hum of industry. Your eyelids feel heavy. The heat presses on your forehead. It would be so easy to close your eyes here in the shade, listening to the writing. The master yawns. It is a wide, silent yawn that stretches his face. He covers his mouth with his hand at the last second. He looks at the hourglass on the table next to him. It is a clepsydra, a water clock. Water drips from the top bowl into the bottom bowl. Drip, drip, drip. The level in the bottom bowl is rising very slowly. Time is passing, measured by water and wax. You feel a bead of sweat trickle down your own neck in the story. It is a slow, tickling sensation. You do not wipe it away. You just let it be. The schoolroom is a bubble of stillness in the middle of the day. It is a place where time is measured in letters, not minutes. A, B, C. The alphabet is a long road, and they are only at the beginning. You decide to leave them to their work. You push off from the column. You step out of the shade and back into the full glare of the noon sun. The heat hits you like a physical blow. It is fierce. The light is blindingly white. You continue down the portico, the sound of the scratching fading behind you. Scritch, scritch, until it is gone, replaced by the silence of the heat-stunned street. The city is approaching its siesta, the time when even the empire must stop and rest. The streets are emptying out. People are retreating into the cool interiors of their homes. The noise of Rome is winding down. The great pause is beginning. You walk slowly, keeping to the thin strips of shade along the walls. You are heading towards a place of deeper quiet, a place to wait out the heat of the day. The sun is now a white disk overhead. The heat in the streets is absolute. The stones of the road are radiating waves of shimmering air that distort the view down the long avenues. The city has slowed to a crawl. The noise of the morning has dissolved into a heavy, drowsy stupor. You need shelter. You turn toward the Forum, toward the massive structure of the Basilica Julia. It is a cathedral of commerce and law, a forest of brick and marble. But at this hour the bankers have packed away their coins, and the judges have gone for their midday meal. The building stands open, a sanctuary of shadow. You step from the blinding white light of the piazza into the deep gloom of the interior. The change is instant. The temperature drops 10 degrees in a single step. The air inside is cool, trapped by the high vaulted ceilings and the thick concrete walls. It feels like stepping into a cave, but a cave built by geometricians. Your eyes take a moment to adjust. Slowly, the shapes resolve. You are standing in a hall that seems to stretch on forever. Rows of white marble columns march away into the darkness. They are thick and sturdy, supporting the galleries above. The floor is a checkerboard of colored marble, yellow giallo antico, green cipollino, and deep purple porphyry. It is polished so smooth that it reflects the columns like a dark lake. Walk into the center of the hall. Clack. Your sandal hits the stone. Clack, clack, clack. The echo is startling. It flies up to the ceiling, bounces off the arches, and rains back down as a whisper. The silence here is not empty, it is vast. It is the silence of held breath. You look up. The ceiling is lost in shadow 40 feet above you. Shafts of sunlight cut through the clerestory windows high up on the walls. They are solid beams of light, thick with dust. The dust moves in slow, swirling currents. It is the only thing moving in the building. You watch a single speck of dust travel from the darkness into the light. It flares gold for a second, then disappears back into the shadow. You walk to one of the massive pillars. You place your hand on it. The marble is cold. It feels like ice against your sun-warmed palm. You lean your forehead against the stone. The coolness seeps into you, calming the heat in your blood. It is a heavy, grounding sensation. This is where the law is spoken, but now there are no words. The tribunals, the wooden platforms where the magistrates sit, are empty. They look like small, abandoned islands in the sea of the floor. A stray piece of parchment lies on one of the steps. It is curled up, dry and brittle. It sits there, ignored. You hear a sound from high above. Coo, coo, a pigeon has found its way into the rafters. The sound echoes, sounding larger than it is. It sounds mournful. You see the bird flutter from one beam to another. Flap, flap, glide, it settles. It tucks its head into its wing. Even the bird is taking a siesta. You find a marble bench along the wall between two columns. You sit down. The stone sucks the heat from your legs. You lean back against the wall. You look out across the vast, empty floor. The geometry is soothing. Vertical lines, horizontal lines, everything is balanced. Everything is stable. The noise of the city outside is just a dull roar now, like the sound of the ocean heard through a thick wall. It feels very far away. You are safe here, protected by the weight of the empire's architecture. The light beams on the floor shift imperceptibly. As the sun moves across the sky, the rectangles of light slide across the marble. They move over the green stone, then the yellow stone. It is a slow, silent sundial. Your breathing slows down to match the size of the room. In a small room, you breathe quickly. In a hall this size, you breathe deeply. Inhale. The air smells of old stone and cool dust. Exhale. The echo of your own breath is lost in the space. You close your eyes. The darkness behind your eyelids is cool and gray. You feel the hardness of the bench, but it is not uncomfortable. It is solid. You are sitting on the bedrock of Rome. Nothing is happening and nothing needs to happen. The business of the day is paused. The arguments are paused. The debts are paused. There is only the cool air and the stone. You stay there for a long time, maybe 20 minutes, maybe an hour. Time is fluid in the semi-darkness. The basilica creates its own time. Eventually, the heat outside will begin to break. The lawyers will return. The noise will start again. But not yet. For now, the hall belongs to you and the pigeon. You open your eyes slowly. The beam of light has moved to the next pillar. The world is turning, heavy and slow. You feel restored by the coolness. The frantic energy of the noon sun has been drained away by the marble. You stand up, clack. The echo announces your movement. You walk slowly back toward the entrance. The wall of white heat is waiting for you outside, but you are ready for it now. You step through the archway. The light hits you. You squint. You are back in the day. But you carry the silence of the hall with you, a small nugget of cool shadow in your mind. You step out of the echoing cool of the basilica, but the heat of the street is too much. The sun is a heavy weight on your shoulders. The city has surrendered to it. The streets are empty. The shutters are closed. Rome has stopped moving. It is the 6th hour, the hour of rest. You find your way back to the private house, slipping through the cool corridor and into the peristylium, the garden courtyard. This time, you do not sit on a bench. You are drawn to the lectus, a daybed placed deep in the shade of the colonnade. It is a simple wooden frame with a mattress stuffed with wool. A linen sheet is draped over it. You lie down, creak. The frame settles under your weight. You stretch out your legs. Your muscles loose their tension instantly. The stone floor beneath the bed radiates a gentle coolness that rises up to meet you. Above you, the roof of the colonnade blocks the fierce white sun. You look out into the garden. The light there is dazzling, but here in the shade, it is dim and soft. The contrast is hypnotic. Bright green leaves against black shadows. White marble statues against dark ivy. The heat has silenced the birds. Even the wind has stopped. The air is thick and still. It feels solid like warm water. The only sound is the cicadas. Zzz, tick tick tick, zzz. It is a dry, rasping drone. It rises and falls in waves. It is the soundtrack of the heat. It is monotonous. It is relentless. It crowds out every other thought in your head. You watch a sunbeam filter through the leaves of a vine. It creates a pattern of light on the floor near the bed, dappled light. It shifts slightly as the heat makes the air shimmer. The light looks like it is breathing. Expand, contract, expand, contract. Your eyelids feel incredibly heavy. The urge to close them is irresistible. You let them drop. Now the world is just a warm, red glow through your eyelids. You can still hear the cicadas. Zzz. You can smell the dry earth of the garden. You can smell the faint scent of boxwood, warmed by the sun. You are not asleep, but you are not awake. You are drifting in the space between. This is the meridiatio, the midday divide. The empire has paused. The emperor is resting. The soldiers are resting. The shopkeepers are resting. You are resting. You feel a bead of sweat on your forehead. It does not bother you. It evaporates slowly in the dry air, leaving a tiny patch of coolness. A lizard skitters across the stone floor nearby. Skitter, skitter. It stops. It basks in a patch of sun. It is perfectly still. It is soaking up the energy of the star. You are soaking up the energy of the rest. Time loses its meaning here. There is no clock ticking. The shadows are the only measure, and they are moving too slowly to see. You are floating in a warm, golden haze. Your breathing is shallow and slow. The air is thin and warm. It is easy to breathe. You sink deeper into the wool mattress. It conforms to your shape. You feel held. You feel supported. Nothing matters right now. The history of Rome can wait. The wars can wait. The grandeur can wait. There is only the shade. There is only the heat. There is only the drone of the insect. You stay there for what feels like an eternity, a beautiful, empty eternity. The heaviness of your body is a comfort. You are anchored to the earth. Eventually, the angle of the sun changes. The light on the floor turns a deeper gold. The intensity of the white heat begins to soften just a fraction. The cicadas slow down their rhythm. Zzz, zzz. Silence returns to the gaps between the sounds. You open your eyes slowly. The garden is still there. The statues haven't moved. The lizard is gone. You feel groggy but peaceful, a deep, restorative peace that lives in your bones. You sit up slowly. You swing your legs off the bed. Your sandals touch the cool stone. You are ready to face the late afternoon, but you move slowly, carrying the quiet of the siesta with you. You stand up from the daybed. The siesta is over. The sun has moved past its peak and is beginning its slow slide toward the west. The fierce white heat of the midday is softening into a rich, golden warmth. The city is waking up again, but slowly. You walk out of the quiet house and join the stream of people heading in one direction. Everyone is going to the thermae, the baths. It is the daily destination, the place where the dust of the city is washed away. You arrive at the entrance of the great bathhouse. It is no longer the silent, echoing cavern you visited in the dead of night. Now it is alive, but it is a muffled life. The thick stone walls absorb the noise of the crowd, turning hundreds of conversations into a low, continuous hum. It sounds like a hive of bees, steady and comforting. You enter the apoditerium, the changing room. The air here is thick and smells of bodies, leather sandals, and old olive oil. You find a niche for your clothes. You undress. You are now just skin. You feel the air of the room against your bare arms. It is warm, kept heated by the furnaces below. You walk into the tepidarium, the warm room. This is the place of transition. The air is humid. You find a spot on a marble bench. You sit. You wait. The purpose here is simply to sweat, to let the pores open. You watch a bead of sweat form on your arm. It rolls down slowly, tickling your skin. You wipe it away. Another forms. It is a slow, biological clock. A slave approaches you with a flask of oil. He pours a pool of golden oil into his hand. Glug. He rubs it onto your shoulders. Rub, rub, rub. The sensation is heavy and slippery. The smell of the oil is strong, green olives and rosemary. He works the oil into your muscles. The tension of the walking, the standing, the watching, it all melts away under the pressure of his thumbs. You close your eyes. The hum of the room fades into the background. There is only the friction of the oil. Warm, smooth, heavy. After the oil comes the strigil, the curved metal tool you saw in the moonlight. Now it is being used. Scrape. The metal glides over your oiled skin. It collects the oil, the sweat, and the dust. Scrape, flick. The slave flicks the waste onto the floor where another slave washes it away with a bucket of water. Splash, scrape, flick, splash. The rhythm is hypnotic. It is a grooming ritual that has not changed for centuries. It feels primal, like being groomed like a horse or a prize animal. It is deeply relaxing to be taken care of. You move to the caldarium, the hot room. The heat here is intense. Steam rises from the central pool, the alveus. It hangs in the air like a white curtain. You can barely see the other side of the room. People are just shapes moving in the mist. You step into the hot water. It stings for a second, then feels incredibly soothing. You sink down until the water is up to your chin. You are weightless. The water supports you. You look at the ceiling. It is a vaulted dome painted blue with gold stars. In the steam, the stars look blurry, like they are shining through clouds. Condensation drips from the ceiling. Drip. It lands in the pool next to you. Ripples spread out, rocking you gently. The sound of the water is everywhere. Water flowing into basins. Water splashing on tiles. Water gurgling in drains. It is a liquid symphony. Splash. Gurgle, drip. You stay in the hot water until your skin is pink and wrinkled. You feel clean, deeply, thoroughly clean. The dust of the subura, the smoke of the bakery, the mist of the river, It is all gone. You climb out of the pool. Your body feels heavy and loose like cooked pasta. You walk slowly back through the warm room and into the frigidarium, the cold room. This is the shock. You step to the edge of the cold pool. You take a deep breath. You jump in, splash. The cold is instant. It snaps your eyes open. It closes your pores. It makes you feel alive. You surface, gasping slightly. The water here is clear and dark. You float on your back for a moment, looking up at the high, vaulted ceiling. The echo here is sharper. The voices sound clearer. You climb out. A slave wraps you in a thick, rough linen towel. He rubs you dry briskly. Rub, rub, rub. The friction warms your skin again. You walk out into the palestra, the exercise yard. It is late afternoon now. The sun is dipping lower. Long shadows stretch across the grass. Men are playing ball games. They move slowly, lazily. A ball is thrown, an arc against the blue sky. It is caught. Thump. A soft sound of leather hitting a palm. Thrown again, caught again. There is no score. There is no winner, just the motion. You find a spot in the sunlight to dry off completely. You sit on the grass. You watch the steam rising from your own skin. You feel lighter than air. The day is winding down. The bath has washed away the day's heat. You are ready for the evening. The noise of the baths is behind you now. A steady, distant roar of water and voices. It is the sound of Rome washing itself. A city of 1 million people, all seeking the same water, the same heat, the same peace. You close your eyes for a moment in the sun. You feel clean, you feel calm, you feel bored, and it is perfect. You walk home from the baths. Your skin feels tight and clean, tinged with the scent of rosemary oil. The sun is now sitting on the horizon, a heavy orange ball that casts the streets in a deep, horizontal light. The shadows are at their longest, stretching like giants across the paving stones. You arrive back at the house. It is time for the cena, the main meal of the day. You enter the triclinium, the dining room. It is a room designed for this specific hour. The wide doors open onto the garden, allowing the last of the daylight to spill in. The floor is a mosaic of geometric patterns, black and white triangles that seem to point toward the center of the room. In the middle of the room stand the 3 couches, arranged in a U-shape. This is the triclinium. They are covered in mattresses and cushions dyed in Tyrian purple and saffron yellow. The colors are rich and warm in the evening light. You do not sit at a table. You recline. You lower yourself onto the middle couch. You lean on your left elbow, resting on a firm cushion. Your legs stretch out behind you. This is the posture of the Roman evening. It is a posture of absolute rest. You cannot rush a meal while lying down. Gravity slows you down. The room is quiet. The servants move like shadows. They are barefoot, their steps making no sound on the mosaic. One servant brings a basin of water. You hold out your hands. Water is poured over them, splash, trickle. It is cool and clear. A towel is offered. You dry your hands. The ritual of cleaning is repeated. The table in the center is small and round, made of polished citrus wood. It glows like amber. The first course is brought out. The gustatio. It is simple. A silver plate holding hard-boiled eggs and black olives. Focus on the egg. It is perfectly smooth, white and oval. You pick it up. It is cool to the touch. You peel it, crack. The shell fractures. You peel away the fragments. The white underneath is soft and rubbery. You take a bite. It is bland, rich, and comforting. You dip the next bite in a little salt. The crunch of the salt crystals against the soft egg. Now an olive. It is wrinkled and black, cured in brine. You put it in your mouth. It tastes of the earth and the sea. It is salty and bitter. You chew slowly. You remove the stone and place it on the edge of the plate. Click. The light in the garden is fading fast now. The orange has turned to a bruised purple. The statues in the garden are becoming silhouettes again. The servant enters with a long taper. He lights the lamps on the tall bronze stands in the corners of the room. Flicker, flare. The flames settle into a steady yellow glow. The room shrinks. The corners disappear into darkness. There is only the circle of light around the couches and the table. The main course arrives, the prima mensa. It is a pottage of lentils and pork. It is served in a terracotta bowl. Steam rises from it, curling up into the lamplight. The smell is heavy and savory. Roasted meat, garlic, and thyme. You break off a piece of bread. The bread is round and dense, made of emmer wheat. The crust is hard, the inside is soft and gray. You use the bread as a spoon. You scoop up the lentils. The food is hot. It warms your chest as you swallow. It is heavy food, meant to ground you after the activity of the day. There is no music tonight, no poetry reading, just the sound of eating, the tearing of bread, rip, the clinking of a silver spoon against a clay bowl, clink, the swallowing of wine. The wine is mixed with water in a large crater. It is watered down, a dark pink liquid that tastes of grapes and resin. You take a sip from a shallow cup. It is cool and refreshing. It washes away the salt of the olives. You look around the room. The walls are painted with frescoes of fruit and birds. In the flickering lamplight, the painted grapes look real. The painted sparrows look like they might fly away, but nothing moves. The room is a still life. You feel heavy. The bath relaxed your muscles. The food is filling your stomach. Your eyelids feel thick. You adjust your position on the cushion. You sink deeper into the wool. It is hard to keep your eyes open. The conversation at the table, if there were any, would be slow and murmuring. But you are alone in this scene. It is just you and the food. A moth flies in from the garden, drawn by the lamps. It flutters around the flame. Flutter, flutter. It casts a giant, frantic shadow on the wall. Then it lands on the table. It stays there, vibrating its wings. You watch it. It is a tiny, gray visitor from the night. The servant clears the bowls. His movements are fluid. He does not clatter the dishes. He wipes the table with a cloth. The wood shines again. The final course. The secunda mensa, dessert, a bowl of figs and nuts. The figs are soft, purple, and bursting with seeds. You pull one open. The inside is pink and sticky. It tastes of pure sugar and sunshine. The nuts are walnuts. You have to crack them. Crack. The sound is sharp in the quiet room. You pick out the meat of the nut. It is earthy and bitter, balancing the sweet fig. You are full, you are warm, you are clean, you are resting on soft cushions. The world outside is dark now. The night has fully returned. The cycle is almost complete. You lie back on the couch. You stare at the ceiling. It is coffered with painted rosettes in the center of each square. You count the rosettes. 1, 2, 3. The pattern repeats. It is soothing. Your eyes lose focus. The rosettes blur into a grid of shapes. The lamp oil is burning down. The smell of the oil mixes with the smell of the figs. It is a sweet, heavy scent. The flame flickers once, casting the shadows into a brief dance. Then it steadies. You have nowhere to be. The meal is over, but there is no rush to leave the table. The Romans sit for hours, just existing, just digesting, just letting the day settle into the past. You listen to the garden. The fountain is still trickling, drip, drip. The crickets have started their night song again, chirp, chirp. The world has returned to the state where you found it at the beginning. Quiet, dark, eternal. You let your hand drop over the side of the couch. Your fingers brush the mosaic floor. The stones are cool. It is the only anchor you have to the waking world. Everything else is soft, warm, and drifting. You are floating in the triclinium, a ship of cushions on a sea of silence. You rise from the dining couch. The meal is finished. The food has settled, bringing with it a heavy, warm lethargy. The lamps in the triclinium are burning low, their oil nearly exhausted. It is time to leave the semi-public world of the household and retreat to the private sanctuary of sleep. You walk out of the dining room and back into the atrium. The house is quiet again. The slaves have cleared the dishes and retreated to their own quarters. The dog is asleep by the embers of the brazier. The atrium is dark, save for the moonlight falling through the roof opening once more. The cycle has returned to where it began. The pool is black and still. You walk toward your cubiculum, the bedroom. In a Roman house, the bedroom is not a grand chamber. It is a small, functional space. It is designed for one thing only: sleeping. You push the heavy wooden door open. Creak. You step inside. The room is tiny. It feels like a cell, but a comfortable one. The walls are painted simply, perhaps a solid wash of white or pale yellow to reflect the candlelight. There is a high, small window, just a slit in the wall covered by a shutter. You check the shutter. You slide the bolt across. Clack. The outside world is now physically locked away. No noise from the street can reach you here. No light can enter. In the center of the room stands the bed, the lectus cubicularis. It is higher than a modern bed. You almost have to climb into it. The frame is made of oak, polished and dark. Instead of springs, the mattress rests on a web of tight ropes woven across the frame. The mattress itself is thick, stuffed with reeds and wool. It looks lumpy but inviting. You sit on the edge of the bed. The ropes creak softly under your weight. You take off your sandals. One by one, you place them on the floor. The feeling of your bare feet touching the cool floorboards is the final signal to your body that the day is done. On a small side table sits a single clay lamp. It is burning with a small, steady flame. It casts long, dancing shadows against the walls. The room flickers. Light, dark, light, dark. You watch the flame. It is consuming the last drops of oil. It is a small, captive star that has served you well. You prepare the bed. You pull back the heavy wool blanket. It is rough to the touch, dyed a deep red. Underneath is a sheet of fine linen, cool and smooth. You climb into the bed. You sink into the mattress. The straw stuffing rustles softly beneath you. Rustle, crinkle. It creates a nest around your body. You lie on your back. You look at the ceiling. It is low and dark. You are enclosed. You are safe. The walls of the room feel like they are wrapping around you, a protective shell against the vastness of the empire. You turn your head to look at the lamp one last time. The flame is the only thing moving in the room. It is time. You reach out. You cup your hand behind the flame to shield it. You take a deep breath. Whoosh. You blow it out. The darkness is instantaneous. It is absolute. There is no ambient light here. No street lamps outside. No digital clocks. Just pure, unadulterated blackness. For a moment, the image of the flame lingers in your vision, a ghost of blue and orange. Then it fades, and you are left in the dark. Then comes the smell. The sharp, acrid scent of the extinguished wick. Smoke. It curls up from the lamp, invisible in the dark. It fills the small room with the smell of burnt linen and oil. It is a comforting smell. It is the scent of the end of the day. You pull the wool blanket up to your chin. It is heavy. The weight is good. It presses you down into the mattress. It stops you from moving. It tells your muscles to stop working. Your eyes are open, but you see nothing. The ceiling, the door, the walls, they are all gone. There is only the sensation of lying down. You listen to the house. It is settling for the night. Tick. A timber cooling in the roof. Creak. A floorboard adjusting to the temperature change. These are the sounds of the house sleeping. You can hear your own breathing. It sounds loud in the small room. In, out, in, out. It is slow and steady. You feel the warmth of your body getting trapped under the wool blanket. It creates a microclimate of heat. Your feet, which were cold, begin to warm up. Your hands, resting on your chest, are heavy. Your fingers curl naturally. The day is stripping away from you. The walking, the talking, the eating, the heat, the cold. It all feels like a distant memory, something that happened to someone else. Here in the dark, there is no time. There is no Rome. There is only the bed. You close your eyes. It makes no difference to the darkness, but it signals your brain to shut down. The darkness behind your eyelids merges with the darkness of the room. You are floating in a void of wool and silence. You wait. You are not trying to sleep. You are just letting go, drifting, sinking. The smell of the smoke fades slowly, replaced by the smell of the wool and the lavender in the mattress stuffing. The silence grows thicker. It fills your ears like water, heavy, muffled, peaceful. You are lying in the dark. The extinguished lamp still scents the air with a faint, smoky memory of fire, but the room itself has disappeared. There are no walls anymore, only the vast, warm space of your own mind. You are waiting for sleep, and as you wait, the city comes back to you. But it is not the solid city of stone and brick you walked through. It is a ghost city, a city of echoes. Listen, far away through the thick walls, through the shuttered window, a sound drifts in. Rumble. Is it a cartwheel on the cobblestones? Or is it thunder over the Apennines? It is low and rolling. It moves from left to right in the darkness of your mind. It doesn't matter what it is. It is just a vibration. It rocks you gently. Now a voice. Someone is calling out in the street 3 blocks away. Marco, or maybe Mater. The word is stretched out by the distance. It loses its meaning before it reaches you. It is just a tone, a human note in the night. It hangs in the air for a second, then dissolves into the silence. Your body feels heavier. Your legs feel like they are sinking through the mattress. Your arms are made of lead. You couldn't move them if you wanted to, and you don't want to. Paralysis is a comfort. It means you are safe. Images from the day begin to flash behind your eyelids. They are not movies, they are snapshots. Flash, the white marble of the basilica floor, bright and cool. Flash, the green oil on the barber's hands. Flash, the orange flame of the lamp. They appear and fade, pulsating in time with your heartbeat. Lub-dub, flash, lub-dub, flash. You hear the wind again, but now it sounds like the river. Whoosh, shhh. The Tiber is flowing through the room. It is flowing under your bed. You are floating on the dark water. It is carrying you downstream, past the bridges, past the docks, toward the sea. The sensation of movement is real. You are drifting. A dog barks, woof. It sounds sharp, but it feels soft, like it's wrapped in cotton wool. It is the watchdog of the subconscious. It is guarding your dreams. Your thoughts are breaking apart. You try to think about tomorrow, but the thought slips away like a wet fish. You try to think about the Forum, but the columns are melting. Logic is dissolving. There is only sensation left. The warmth of the wool, the smell of the lavender, the hum of the silence. You feel a tiny muscle twitch in your leg. Twitch. Your body releasing the last of the day's tension. It is a little spark of electricity leaving the system. The system is powering down. The darkness is not black anymore. It is a deep, velvety purple. It is swirling slowly, like ink dropped in water. You watch the patterns, spirals, waves, clouds. They are beautiful and boring. They are pulling you down. The sounds of the city are getting further and further away. The cart is miles away now. The voice is a whisper from another planet. You are leaving Rome. You are entering the private country of sleep. Your breathing changes. It becomes deeper. There is a tiny pause at the bottom of each exhale. Breathe in. Breathe out. Pause. In that pause, there is total nothingness. It is a little moment of death, a little moment of peace. You are almost there. The anchor is lifted. The rope is cut. You are drifting free. The last thing you feel is the weight of the blanket, but it doesn't feel like a blanket anymore. It feels like a hand, a giant warm hand resting on you, keeping you still, keeping you safe. The city is gone, the room is gone, you are gone. Sleep. You are asleep. The heavy oak door of the bedroom, the wool blanket, the dark walls, they have all dissolved. You are no longer in the cubiculum. You are no longer bound by gravity. You are standing in the Forum, but it is not the Forum of stone and earth. It is a forum of clouds and silver mist. The ground beneath your feet is transparent. You can see the dark river flowing deep below, silent and powerful. Flow, flow, flow. It doesn't make a sound of rushing water. It makes the sound of wind in the pines. Look at the temple of Vesta. The fire inside is not orange, it is blue. It is cool, not hot. It rises in slow, liquid spirals, turning into birds that fly up toward the moon. You watch them go. They leave trails of light behind them, painting the sky. You begin to float. You drift upward past the columns of the Temple of Saturn. The columns are taller than mountains now. They stretch up forever. You float past the capitals, the carved leaves of stone, but the leaves are moving. They are real leaves, green and rustling, growing out of the white marble. The stone is alive here. You drift toward the Colosseum. It is floating in the sky like a great stone ring, but the arches are not empty. Each arch is filled with a different scene. In one, the baker is breaking bread. In another, the barber is stroking a chin. In another, the owl is gliding. In another, the water is falling in the aqueduct. The building is a library of moments. You float through the center. There is no sand in the arena. There is only a giant pool of calm water. It reflects a sky that has 3 moons. You dip your toe in the water. It sends ripples out that turn into sound waves. HMMMMM. A low, resonant chord that vibrates through your whole body. You fly over the Pantheon. The dome is open, but it doesn't lead to the sky. It leads to the ocean. You look down into the oculus and see the deep blue sea, waves crashing in slow motion. A ship sails across the opening, its sails full of starlight. It is sailing upside down. It makes perfect sense. You land softly in a garden. It is the Pincian Hill, but the statues have stepped off their pedestals. They are walking on the grass. They are silent white figures. A marble nymph offers you a marble pear. You take it. It is light as a feather. It turns into mist in your hand. The air smells of everything at once. The rosemary of the bath, the smoke of the lamp, the dough of the bread, the rain on the stone. It is the perfume of memory. You find a bed made of moss under a giant olive tree. The tree's roots are made of gold. You lie down. The moss is warm. The branches above you weave together to form a roof. The leaves whisper to you. They are whispering the history of the world. But you don't need to listen. You just need to feel the vibration. The dream begins to fade. The images become transparent. The blue fire dims. The floating Colosseum dissolves into mist. The 3 moons merge into one. The sensation of floating turns into a sensation of sinking deeper, past the dreams, past the images, into the dark velvet void. This is the deep sleep, the place without pictures, the place without time, the place where the mind is washed clean. You are nothing, you are everything, you are peace. You are standing in a high-rise apartment 50 stories above the ground. The room is dark, lit only by the light spilling in from the city outside. It is night. It is always night here, and it is raining. It is always raining. Walk to the massive floor-to-ceiling window. The glass is thick, reinforced, and cold. Press your hand against it. You can feel the chill of the outside world seeping through. You can feel the vibration of the city, a low, constant thrum that lives in the structure of the building. Look out. The city stretches to the horizon, a canyon of steel and glass. It is a vertical ocean of light. Holographic billboards float in the damp air between the skyscrapers. A giant geisha face, 3 stories tall, smiles slowly. Her skin is made of blue pixels. She blinks, blink. A dragon made of golden light coils around a tower in the distance. Advertisements for synthetic ramen and cybernetic eyes scroll endlessly up the sides of the buildings. Pink, cyan, acid green. The colors reflect off the wet glass, painting your face in shifting neon stripes. Listen to the rain. It is not the soft, natural rain of the countryside. It is hard, industrial rain. TCHK, TCHK, TCHK. It hits the glass with force. Water streams down the window pane in thick, oily rivulets. They distort the lights outside, turning the city into a melted watercolor painting. SSSSSSHHHHHH. The wind whips the rain around the corners of the tower. It sounds like static. Look down. Far below, in the deep chasms of the streets, you can see the traffic. Lines of red taillights and white headlights. They are not cars, they are hover cars, spinners. They move in smooth, organized lanes of air. Whoosh, whoosh. You can't hear the individual engines from this height, just a collective drone. It sounds like a hive of electric bees. The air inside the apartment is filtered. It smells of ozone and recycled oxygen. It is sterile and cool. There is a faint hum coming from the air purifier in the corner. HMMMMMM. It is a white noise that masks the silence of the room. You turn away from the window for a moment. The apartment is sparse, minimalist, a low bed, a metal desk, a terminal screen glowing with a standby icon. Everything is sleek, gray, and functional. There is no wood here, no stone, only plastic, metal, and glass. You walk back to the window. You can't look away. A spinner flies past your window close by. VROOOM. The sound vibrates in your chest. You see the pilot for a split second, a silhouette against the dashboard lights. Then he is gone, disappearing into the fog. The fog is thick tonight. It glows with the pollution of the light. It swirls around the lower levels of the buildings, hiding the ground. You are floating in the sky, detached, isolated. You watch a drop of water on the outside of the glass. It slides down, merging with another drop, becoming heavy, then racing to the bottom. You follow it with your eyes. Down, down, into the abyss of the city. This is a world of noise, but up here, behind the glass, it is a quiet observation deck. You are the watcher in the tower. The city is running on electricity and data, and you are just breathing the recycled air, watching the neon rain fall.